Okay. We'll see how long I can. We'll see how long I can go today. We'll see what I can tolerate. You hear the Northern Lions Super Cruise has been canceled? Oh my god. That's awful. Sorry for your ticket getting refunded. Yeah. It was gonna be. Oh, what an opportunity. Mr. Northern, Mr. Northern, sir. I'm a streamer too. I haven't been at it as long as you have, but you inspire me. I've written out these jokes. Do you think these are good bits? Are they +2 or -2? I've written a few of them here. Now, okay. Um All right. Treats for your cute kitty. They'll make him fat. How are you feeling today? I don't want to talk about it. Um Israel and Lebanon agree to a 10-day ceasefire to start within hours. Israeli ceasefire. Love the jacket. Thank you. UC sci-fi. True. That's true. What was I going to do? What was I going to talk about? Trying to remember. Did they not have House vote Iran war? The failing New York Times. House thwarts bid to halt Iran war. That's not the thing. That's the thing. There we go. But some in GOP see support fading. You're not going to believe it, guys. You're not going to believe it. The vote to end the Iran war, or at least to subject the Iran war to congressional approval, failed by one Democrat vote. One Democrat vote. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Fetterman, it's the House. It's the House. It's not the Senate. It's the House. Sorry. Where is he? Failed by a vote of 213 to 214. With one Republican member voting present. It required at least 2 more votes to pass, or one no vote to be changed into a yes. Jared Golden was the only sole Democrat voting in opposition. Yes, he's taken money from AIPAC. Yes, he's a blue dog Democrat who calls himself like a conservative progressive or something. Yes, he's a deep state plant. Jared Golden is retiring too. Obviously, that's how the rotating villain strategy works. You pick the guy who's on his way out so he can take the heat. I guarantee you that if they needed 2 votes, they would have found 2. If they needed 5, they would have found 5. There's a reason why. You never get these edge case wins, man. The Dems are evil? Yes, sir. I know a lot of shitlibs are going to argue against this, but it's really important to understand that this war in Iran is illegal and it's literally devastating the global economy. Securing control over it and subjugating it to congressional authority is of overwhelming importance. So you would think that if there was a Democrat who broke rank, one Democrat out of hundreds, to be the one needed vote to keep it from passing, this person would be waking up to lit torches outside their bedroom window the next day, you know? Like, they would not be able to sleep comfortably for the rest of their political career. They'd be done, right? Like, not only, like, beyond being in Congress. and not running for re-election. I mean, it would be like ruinous. The Democratic Party would be calling for their head in a stick. And what's happening here? You're not going to see it. Is Hakeem Jeffries going to whip the fuck out of him? No. Did Hakeem Jeffries whip the House? I actually don't know. Did he? I'm going to guess he didn't. Imagine if a single Republican ruined an abortion ban. It's even more. Imagine if a single Republican ruined an abortion ban for the Republicans, and then the Republican Party didn't respond to it at all. Like, no follow-up press conferences where they're, like, losing their fucking mind. No gigantic, like, nationwide, like, insane fervor on what they did. No conversation on the national betrayal they would have committed in the eyes of Republicans. Just like, oh, no, okay, it happened. Unimaginable. Because the Republicans actually care about getting stuff done. Bad stuff, but stuff. Imagine what they'll have to do after November when they have majorities everywhere. Yeah, Democrats having to field like 43 revolving villains every fucking vote. Oh, sorry, guys. Yeah, we found this. All of us were actually against subjecting the Iran war to congressional authority the entire time. Yeah. Would it need to go to the Senate even if it passed? Yes. It's not about whether or not it would have passed. It's about whether or not the Democratic Party is signaling that they're serious about actually pushing their agenda forward. Again, this is an illegal war that is destroying the global economy. This is not some minor issue. This isn't something you can just throw your, oh, okay, so you have a couple people who disagree. This isn't some mild procedural vote. This is like for the soul of the republic. And Democrats consider it unimportant enough that they'll allow some single fucking retard to take the hit. Of course, the cynics among us are probably aware of the revolving door. To be clear, the revolving door villain theory is the idea that if you secretly want something to happen, but you want to pretend that you're against it, you only need to get the minimum number of people necessary to take the fall to vote against it or for it. You only need like the tiniest amount. You just need to slip it on by. So often what Democrats will do, again, if you're cynical, is they will take unpopular, centrist, Democratic House candidates, or sorry, members, not running for re-election, and they'll say, you take it. It doesn't matter. You're going to be on the board of some consultancy firm by, next year anyway. Do it. You take the fall. Sounds like a genuine flaw in the system. Yeah, a little bit. Just a little bit. I'm assuming these Democrats get their pockets filled with bribes. No, it's just like they're all in favor of the Iran war. Not all of them, but like a significant number of them. Yeah, a ton of the Democrats are in favor of it. Or too meek to oppose it. No, they're in favor of it. We still don't have a unified Democratic opposition to the war. The vote wasn't even on stopping the war necessarily. It was on subjugating it to congressional approval so that the president can't run amok without the approval of Congress. When Schumer and Jeffries talk about their main problems with this war, the main thing they bring up is that Trump didn't follow the right procedure for doing it. They're not morally opposed to the war. They're Zionists. They'll do anything and everything that Israel needs, and that involves perma-war against Iran. In a statement, Golden, who's retiring after his current term, oh, I know, noted there were now intense negotiations between the U.S. and Iran during the 2-week ceasefire and claimed a resolution like this would weaken our hand. Oh, yeah, I'm sure. I bet. Mm-hmm. Isn't Congress supposed to hold this power already? Yeah, it's an illegal war, but Congress ceded that power. I wish the rotating villain strategy was talked about more openly. Yeah, unfortunately, it's kind of like the ultimate black pill, because it means you can no longer trust the authenticity of any vote that any Democrat gives. Because if they signal they support something, but it doesn't go through anyway, then, like, did they really support it? Or was it just they could, like, get away with pretending they did while there were no consequences for their pretending to support it? A good example would be yesterday we had a record number of people who voted against providing arms to Israel. I think, like, what was it, 40 Senate Democrats voted against it. Even people like Adam Schiff, they voted against providing arms and bulldozers to Israel. But, like, it still passed, of course, because that's not enough. So did they really believe that, or did they just think they could get away with it? Yeah, every presidential hopeful did, even Slotkin. Yeah, Slotkin's probably going to run. Fuck Slotkin. Yeah, I hope it goes without saying, but everything that I've said about Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom applies to her as well. We have to save the Democratic Party from these people. Especially applies to her. I think it might apply to her more than Gavin Newsom and Kamala Harris, which is crazy, but, you know. Shame you can't do a Green Party like we have in the UK. We have a Green Party here. I'm sure it's the same. Is there any news coverage on this, or are we all pretending it didn't happen?
I want to bring in MS Now's Kevin Fry on Capitol Hill. Tyler Pager is New York Times White House correspondent, and former Democratic Congresswoman Jane Harman from California, who was ranking member on the House Intelligence Committee and is president emerita of the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars. I want to go straight to you, Kevin. Where's that vote stand right now?
All right, so as we're watching right now, and you'll have the latest and greatest on the screen, I'm sure, is that we're only seeing one Republican currently voting in support of this. That would be notably one less than the last go-around. Democrats, though, are much more in line. There were 4 Democrats that voted against this the last go-around about a month.
And this time, just one voted against it, which is the exact number they needed.
Ago. Now it seems they are largely in lockstep. I was talking to Congressman Gregory Meeks, the top Democrat in the House Foreign Affairs Committee, who is also spearheading this initiative. He has been working Republicans, trying to get them off the fence to side with him, but clearly that does not seem to be playing out. We're still watching a few more Republicans to see how exactly they will cast their ballots. The debate on this resolution got incredibly heated, and quite frankly, lawmakers were throwing punches at each other over exactly what the future of this fight should look like, questioning each other's patriotism. Here is some of that.
Politics. Everything
Webster's dictionary defines politics as
that my colleague just talked about, his hypocritical remarks about we need to do these things, it's all politics.
Jesus Christ, this guy is tired as I am. Holy shit. I'm not really in a position right now to criticize other people's rhetoric, but this guy, like, are you were waiting in line for your chance to speak for this? And
Democrat colleagues are not paying attention to national security at all.
I never challenged the gentleman's patriotism to this country. He better never challenge my patriotism to this country. To think that he has a privilege to do that, no. There's no one that has more patriotism. I have family members who lost their lives for this country. I'm here because of my patriotism.
okay.
And that continued in various states for the better part of an hour. Now, one of the things to level set here when it comes to this is even if this were to pass, which at this point, unless there's some last-minute changes in the vote, it seems likely that it's going to squeak by in the losing column. This would not have, of course, gotten through the Senate in short order. It just failed a similar resolution just yesterday there. And
the Dems need to have more strict rules on party discipline. To be clear, this happened because the Democrats wanted this to happen. Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader, is in favor of aggression against Iran. Repeatedly over his career, he has supported attacks against Iran, even ones conducted by Trump. He has repeatedly eschewed the value of law and international diplomacy in favor of punishing them for the crime of being near Israel, I suppose. This is the discipline.
Obviously, the president could veto this, and in no chamber have we seen anything close to resembling a veto-proof majority. And so this conversation will continue likely for at least the next 2 weeks. That's when we see the War Powers Act of 1973, kind of a deadline for when Congress may need to step in. And some Republicans are telling us that that could be the deadline that might actually force them to the table.
Yeah, this classic bit, I remember.
That when it's all said and done, we're going to stand together. Israel today, Israel tomorrow, Israel forever. God bless you.
What an interesting thing to say when you're an American.
A lot of them are hoping, of course, this will be over by then, but you can debate whether or not there's any chance of that.
All right, so while the political world was watching that, Tyler, the president just announced on Truth Social that Israel and Lebanon have agreed to a 10-day ceasefire.
Yeah, okay, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Most animated I've ever seen him? Yep. Yes, sir. Literally the segregation quote. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, there's a famous quote in American. Was it segregation today, segregation forever? It's a known quote. Yeah, George Wallace. Thank you. Today, tomorrow, forever. Yeah. Feels like this is proving your point that voting for non-progressive Democrats is pointless. Hey, keep in mind that the procedure to replace Hakeem Jeffries and Schumer could be conducted or at least like broached at any time by anyone, and they're just not doing it because they don't want to. So even the progressive Democrats are to a large extent complicit in their continued rule. Why didn't the revolving villain theory prevent the Epstein files release and the Obama-Iran nuclear deal? Well, because the Democrats wanted the Epstein file release, so it doesn't really apply in that case. Like, every Democrat voted for it. And as for the Obama-Iran nuclear deal, it's not always a perfect lockstep theory. Like, not every issue is resolved by it. Keep in mind that Schumer did vote against the Obama-Iran nuclear deal. I just think that it would have been difficult to whip people for, you know? But again, keep in mind that, like, describing a tendency within the party and within government doesn't mean that it's like a uniform law that's obeyed perfectly every time. It just means that this is a thing that keeps happening. How often do you have such a case with the Republicans? Republicans don't really do the revolving door villain theory because they enforce party discipline a lot more openly. The Republican Party is a lot more internally democratic in the sense that there's a lot of scrutiny paid towards people who don't follow the party line, and there's an effort to try to bring them in line with the interests of the greater party. A lot more, like, whipping being done back there. Like, Mike Johnson is non-stop whipping over in the House. Like Hakeem Jeffries barely does it at all, but like Mike Johnson, every day he's like, fuck, I gotta wrangle like 50 people in line today. All the time. The Republicans in general are a lot more honest about being dishonest, or at the very least, it's easier to read what they actually want from what they do. They want, like, evil and child rape and stuff, you know. But at least they're predictable. Wolves, not foxes. Yeah. How does whipping actually work? Like, do you just go around reminding people that it's important to rape kids or whatever? I mean, joke aside, essentially, it's you go and you bully people. That's why it's called whipping. Like, you whip up the votes. You go there, you make promises, you make deals, you say if you don't do this, your career is over. Democrats don't do it because they never tell anyone their career is over. Like, it's a fucking retirement party for octogenarians and party loyalists. It's not like they don't threaten anyone unless you're Graham Plattner or Bernie Sanders, I guess. AOC, yeah. What Pelosi did for that Iron Dome vote to AOC, that was whipping. When Pelosi took AOC aside and made her cry, and then AOC came back and voted present on the Iron Dome funding vote, that was whipping. Because Pelosi did her damn job. Hakeem Jeffries doesn't. I ain't seen Hakeem Jeffries make no AOC cry. Keep in mind, LBJ would literally sexually harass his colleagues as Senate Whip. We used to be a real country. AOC's outfunding everyone in the House. Man, that's great and all, but her seat is secure, and she's not attacking the Dems, so I don't know what the fuck the point of that is. I know she's going to direct some of that money elsewhere, but like... Eh. Well, anyway. Sorry, guys. I guess we get war forever and Congress doesn't exist. This will never pass. Just last February, Chuck Schumer said his mission was to give Israel all the aid it needs. Yeah, of course. We know he's not loyal to the United States. We know that, yeah. It's pretty unfortunate. Is AOC beholden to the deep state middle managers? Can I ask you like hands on my knees to the floor? Can I ask you a sincere question? Can you not talk to me like I am a prophet? The idea that corporate middle managers who sit on the boards of like 78,000 different nonprofits secretly run the world is not a novel theory that I invented. It's like a pretty basic understanding of the way capital manifests and the way this, like, CEOs, they change. Shareholders, they change. The middle management, they stay. And they are very powerful, okay? It's not a novel theory. I'm not a magician, okay? AOC, like all politicians that have ever existed and will ever exist, is to an extent beholden to a wide variety of corporate and special interests, and to an extent they do influence her behavior. The exact extent to which they do this is unknowable to anyone but her, and probably not even her. I'm glad you like the jacket. It's a reference. You might be lagging again. Oh, I don't know. Maybe the encoder reset back to what it was. No, the encoder's still HEVC. You're lagging because you're shit gay computer ass. Shit. Spend more money. What was I going to talk about? Oh, right. The cease. Okay. Apparently
President Trump just announced a
Ceasefire. We did it. Yippee! We did it. We got peace in the Middle East. Israel-Lebanon ceasefire. As we all know, that means that Israel definitely won't and is not currently bombing Lebanon. A ceasefire in what capacity? Well, Israel has invaded southern Lebanon and is occupying it and is saying they'll keep it. They're doing like Lebensraum shit. Is anyone doing anything about it? Yes. God's warriors, Hezbollah. Is anyone else doing anything about it? No. Not really. It's pretty much it, I guess. Probably explicitly excludes Hezbollah. A ceasefire that doesn't include Hezbollah doesn't include anyone.
Ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon. He did so on Truth Social. And the president said the leaders of both nations agreed to a 10-day ceasefire starting at 5 p.m. Eastern today. If it holds, and that's a big if, it could lead to a broader peace deal between the U.S. and Iran. He also says he'll be inviting the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the Lebanese President Joseph Aoun to the White House. I want to get straight to...
Can you show the Shadow Clone Jutsu on stream? Do you think that this jacket is a reference to Naruto? Is that the read you got in it? You need a more casual shirt with that jacket? I can't do this with you guys today, okay? I'm wearing a tank top. This is as informal as it gets. There's literally, I actually don't think there's anything you could do to make a more informal base layer unless I started like cutting holes in it.
To CNN international diplomatic editor Nick Robertson, who is in Islamabad, Pakistan. Nick, what does it say to you?
Yeah, it says a number of things. Of course, the Pakistani lead negotiators, the most powerful politician in the country, Field Marshal.
Per this ceasefire agreement, Israel is permitted to carry out strikes in Lebanon as long as they claim it's in self-defense. That's so funny. Israel, under the 10-day ceasefire agreement, is permitted to carry out strikes in Lebanon as long as it claims they are in self-defense, Article 3 reads. Is that just straight up like in the text of the ceasefire? Israel shall preserve its right to take all necessary measures in self-defense at any time against planned, imminent, or ongoing attacks. This shall not be impeded by the cessation of hostilities. Okay. That's so funny, dude. They put the subtext of the Israeli ceasefire into the text. That's so funny. It comes to a point.
Asim Munir and the Interior Minister have been in Tehran over 24 hours now, meeting with top Iranian negotiators. We don't know how those talks have been going, but we absolutely know that Iran had explicitly said it wanted a Lebanon ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah to be in place and part of the bigger ceasefire picture. So what does this do? This gives the Pakistani negotiators some leverage at the table with the Iranians to get them to soften some of their
Does it?
positions, because when J.D. Vance left Islamabad just a couple of days ago, early Sunday morning, he said the United States has put its best and final offer on the table. The ball was in the Iranian court. They needed to soften their position. That was the implication that the Pakistani negotiators have been there trying to make that happen over the past 24 hours. But I think one of the key...
Is this really off-ramp searching? No, it's probably just more market manipulation. Like, you guys... You need to understand, Israel is occupying Lebanon. Like, they're conquering the territory. Apple Maps removed a bunch of Lebanese villages off of their program. Like, it's gone. Southern Lebanon is just gone. The Apple Maps removal thing is debunked. Wait, is that true? Because I actually opened it up myself on my phone, which is an iPhone. It has Apple Maps. And I didn't see anything. It was like a whole huge blank area. And then right north of the river, the name started again. Is it true that that's not true? Well, the fact that they're occupying and leveling southern Lebanon's true either way. But Apple claims they never had those cities on the map. Really? They didn't have any of those settlements south of the river? I thought I saw reputable sources saying what you were saying. Yeah, me too. Hold on, one second. I know this isn't a very scientific way of resolving this, but like... Okay, you're all linking the same France 24 article. I appreciate, thank you. That was like 5 links of the same article. Suspicious that all that information comes from one article, by the way. Okay, here we go. Beirut, doo-doo-doo, South River. Dog, I don't know. It's like... That's a lot of empty land. But okay, whatever. Anyway, it's irrelevant to the broader point, which is that Israel is currently occupying southern Lebanon. Do-do-do. Lebanon live UA map. We get the red line. There we go. Scale of demolitions. Yeesh. Controlled demolitions. Thankfully, the Israelis jerk off to this, so they always take video when they're demolishing ancient cities. Don't worry, this is all in self-defense. Again, remember, these are just controlled demolitions. There's no threat here. They're not bombing like an enemy camp. They have moved there and they have set up explosives with the explicit intent of just leveling the buildings so that they can occupy them. Like it is nothing. It has nothing to do with displacing. Viral clip on r/livestream fail of a Lebanese VTuber who announced her family was bombed and killed. Yeah, I saw this on Twitter. This is really depressing. I don't know if it...
Yeah, I'm seeing few people here say what's
I don't know if I want to trust chat to manage the gravity of the situation, even as it's contrasted by the Nya VTuber voice. Like, I think the chat would rather focus on the VTuber voice, you know?
going on, what's happening, probably because they don't have Twitter or something, but, Imp has family that live overseas, and 160 bombs within 10 minutes. Destroyed so many.
160 bombs in 10 minutes is fucking insane. All civilians. It's just civilians. Israel has long since given up on the project of pretending that every strike that it commits is, targeted against insurgents. 300 plus dead, by the way. In Lebanon, way more than 300, bucko. Thousands and thousands dead. Over 1 million people displaced. They already got the excavators out here in this one, see? And this is just, yeah, this is 5 days ago. They set up controlled demolitions to eradicate all life and construction left by the Arabs or whatever. And then they send in the excavators, which, by the way, we just voted on sending more to them. We just voted on sending them more construction equipment. Thank you, Chuck Schumer. So that they can level everything.
Key takeaway here for the Iranian will be that President Trump played such a prominent role, as we'd heard about this ceasefire in Lebanon as being on, as being off, that the Lebanese president wouldn't have a conversation with
literally the Lebensraum. Not to do a bit or whatever, but I think that the Israeli commitment to leveling everything that they get their hands on actually surpasses the Nazis. Like, the Nazis did try to take large settlements intact as they moved into Poland and into France. It would be like if the Nazis moved in, and in addition to everything else they did, they also destroyed every single building on the way.
Israeli Prime Minister. It took President Trump getting involved, picking up the phone, calling both. And of course, the Iranians will have been aware of President Trump's involvement. And there's a huge amount of distrust between Iran and the United States at the moment.
Why?
So the Iranians, left the talks here disappointed, feeling that the goalposts have been moved. So they're going to be looking at what President Trump has just done in Lebanon and trying to interpret that and trying to understand, is he also going to be as serious and as committed to...
So like in Warsaw? That was afterwards when they were losing territory. Obviously, the Nazis got increasingly vindictive as they were losing, but Israel does this to settlements that they have no intention of losing. They just do this by default.
To meeting some of our aspirations.
Like, I understand it sounds hyperbolic, but we all know, if it wasn't for the eye of the world on them, you all know Lebanon would be gone, right? Like, they would have flattened Lebanon down to ash, and they would have built, like, Dubai on it. The only reason they didn't is because they know that the global crusade would have been initiated otherwise. If it was not for the fact that a lot of people around the world, billions, would have been violently angry with them afterwards, they would have leveled Lebanon. It would just be like, it would look like Tel Aviv. Or sorry, they would have leveled Jerusalem. They would have leveled Jerusalem.
Some of the Iranian aspirations about a long-term ceasefire. So I think that President Trump's high-profile involvement is also signaling. It's not just the event itself, it's that signaling that's going to be critical for the Pakistani negotiators in Tehran with the Iranian leadership right now.
Let's go to CNN's Jeremy Diamond in Jerusalem. And Jeremy, there's reporting...
TBH, that's kind of retard of you to say as bad as Israel. The Nazis cause a lot more destruction and death. First of all, you're ESL. Second of all, I don't think you understand the point that I was making, but I don't know if I should be mad at you for it because you're clearly ESL. So I don't know if you genuinely just didn't understand the specific verbiage that I employed to make my point. So I don't really think it's fair of me to get mad at you, you know?
Of some real frustration among that security cabinet in the sense that this ceasefire was announced before they officially voted on it.
English
Just walk
second
us through
language.
the reaction in Jerusalem and what this means in terms of any action from Israel over the next 10 days.
Yeah, well, President Trump's announcement of this ceasefire in Lebanon, effectively, between Israel and Hezbollah, although it is officially between Israel and Lebanon, came as Prime Minister Netanyahu was convening a conference call with his security cabinet to discuss this very ceasefire proposal. And so what's clear is that President Trump very much seems to have been the responsible party here in forcing this ceasefire through. It came amid, days of...
Apparently, Israeli ministers are pissy over this ceasefire because Trump pushed it through without even talking to them, which is pretty funny. Considering the fact that the ceasefire doesn't even stop Israel from bombing Lebanon, I don't really know what they have to be mad about, but I guess they have to be mad about everything. I don't know. They're always whining. Have to whine about something. Just found this post in 2024 showing locations for Israeli settlements and the exact location that Israel wishes to conquer now. Oh, this one? Yeah. They're already getting ready to build settlements here. The official plan is to do what they've been doing in the West Bank and, also in like the Golan Heights and stuff, which is you build settlements here after leveling everything that exists now, and then you have to expand your security perimeter to defend the new settlements, da-da-da-da-da. Classic strategy. Why level them in the first place? That's just more work because they're very racist. They're like insanely racist. Like they think that they're like unbelievably racist. You think they're going to stop at the Litani River or try taking all of Lebanon? They might stop for a bit. But, like, not for long, no. Gotta get Greater Israel. All part of the plan, baby. They're not subtle about what they want, you know? As you can see, southern Lebanon, yabouts, right? Yeah, here, this little bit. No, right here, Lebanon. Yeah, right here. Then this bit right here is nowhere near the amount that they need to take over. By the way, Hillary admitted she pushed for the Lebanon war. Which one? What?
But we see Hezbollah is not by any means defeated because we're engaged in a war now in southern Lebanon. I would wish the following. Number one, and finally there seems to be some opening here. I've been advocating behind the scenes for this now for several months.
Cool.
Israel should support this Lebanese government. There has not been a better Lebanese government since the Syrians and Iranians assassinated Hariri. They are trying. Do they have all the capacity they need? No. But they are trying to set up a government.
Hillary's crazy because she's one of the very few people who has had her feet firmly planted in both worlds, that of a politician and that of a like deep state middle manager. She wants to be both, or she has been to some extent both. She wanted to be like the perfect union of both as president. Like a perfect, vessel for their interests. She's always been bitter about that. Still is, from behind the scenes. Her words, not mine. Yeah, a lot more territory to go. She's saying she's telling Israel to support Lebanon's government. Yeah, but telling Israel to support Lebanon's government is not the same as telling Israel to stop this conflict, because the official position from Israel and the United States is that Lebanon and Hezbollah are not the same thing. Of course, even after you defeated Hezbollah in the south, they would just move to the north and then you would have to go there. Pretty unfortunate that Greater Israel includes Cairo, huh? I mean, that's a big city they're going to have to conquer. It's going to be awkward, yeah. They're going to demolish the pyramids, lol. Aren't the pyramids west of Cairo? They might actually be just outside of the... They might be just outside the border. Giza? Yeah, but isn't Giza, like, here? Because Giza, in the olden days, would have been a separate settlement, but now Cairo's spread out and, like, encompassed all of it. It's beyond the Nile? Okay, yeah. They're like 10 feet from Cairo? Yeah, but Cairo's huge, is what I'm saying. Anyway, whatever. It's fine. Wrong link.
of mounting pressure from the United States towards Israel to agree to a ceasefire. You'll recall, if you think back to a week ago, we were looking at a situation where President Trump was urging Prime Minister Netanyahu to scale back strikes and then ultimately beginning to pressure him for a ceasefire. The Prime Minister, though, has been resisting calls.
Netanyahu, though, frame this ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon domestically. I mean, obviously, yes, it's temporary. It's only 10 days. But for voters who are a bit more to the right, who are a bit more sort of security-minded,
What's this map? For those of you who don't know, this is the map of what Israel believes is biblically owed to them. It is a plan of action that has been endorsed by numerous people in Israeli government, including Netanyahu and Ben-Gvir. It is not like a hackneyed conspiracy theory. It is something they have unambiguously said they support. Also, Mike Huckabee, our special envoy, our ambassador, to Israel, has also said that he supports this while talking with Tucker Carlson. What do the lines even come from? They come from like biblical descriptions of the... So like, I assume if you crawled through the Old Testament, you could find some vague description that more... This is what people have settled on, is what matters. Now to the Euphrates, yeah, but like, why this line, why that? I think it's what we've agreed on. Well, I mean, I didn't agree to this. It's what they've agreed on.
doesn't want to look like he has backed down or offered sort of too many concessions. How will he frame it?
Yeah, and it's not even just the right in Israel. I mean, 80% of Israelis, according to recent polling, wanted Israel to continue striking and fighting against Hezbollah.
Yeah, we know.
In Lebanon. They were, this is a country where the majority of the country was not in favor of a ceasefire with Lebanon, and that is a very real political reality that the Israeli Prime Minister is and will have to contend with. I think he will certainly lean on the fact that it is a temporary 10-day ceasefire, that it is in order to allow for the possibility of negotiations. Maybe he will signal that he sees a potential major breakthrough on the horizon that could kind of begin to change the face of this region, but so many challenges still remain. You know, as Israel and Lebanon engage in these negotiations, the key will be disarming Hezbollah. And while the political will certainly...
It's so funny understanding how this shit works and then watching American media treat it like a football game where they don't even understand how the rules of the game are or how the game is played, you know? Like, oh yeah, man, now in this ceasefire where Israel gets to keep bombing Lebanon, we have 10 days to negotiate a ceasefire. Between who and who? What are we talking about? What ceasefire? They just invaded Lebanon. You know, Western media won't even acknowledge that. Seriously, go find, if you will, go find Israel has invaded. Not, oh, Israel has sent the security detachment. We are leveling, by we I mean the Judeo-Christian Amera Israel KKK demon state, of course. They are just straight up leveling villages. They are bulldozing them. We just voted to send them bulldozers. Do you know how evil that is? We don't just send them weapons. You know that, right? The Senate voted. Senate vote bulldozers Israel. They use so many This was a Senate vote? Yes, and the Democratic Minority Leader Chuck Schumer did in fact vote to send bulldozers over there, which are used for the sole and explicit purpose of eradicating centuries-old cities in Lebanon so that Israel can set up, I don't know, matcha stores or chai labubu shops or whatever the fuck on top of them. "40 out of 47 Senate Democrats voted in favor of one of the resolutions to block a $300 million sale of bulldozers." That is a lot of bulldozers, man. 300 million. That's double the amount of the 1,000-pound bombs we would have sold to the IDF. Like, the value of the bulldozers is double the bombs they were voting on. Like, seriously, how can you vote for a party that keeps doing this intentionally despite the vast majority of their own voters disapproving it? It's crazy because the libshits that I see on Twitter don't even want to address this. Like, I haven't even heard a convincing explanation from them. Like, The Democratic Party, the constituency, the voters, hates Israel. And the young ones especially hate Israel. And every year they hate Israel a lot more. This is not like an issue you can hold your ground on. This is not something you can ignore and pretend it'll go away. But the libshits like legit, like pretend it's not real. I don't understand. Like, what's their solution here? What do you think is going to happen to the favorability of a political party that keeps openly defying the will of their constituency on a high stakes issue like this? It's not some banal procedural vote or some like technocratic issue that most people don't understand. We're just supporting a genocide. Like, what if the Democratic Party keeps engaging in this behavior? How can you expect people to vote for or support them? They're doing this against the wishes of their own party. And why? It's not like there would be consequences if they didn't. Like, it's not like the Democratic constituency wants zero taxes, but the Democratic Party is disobeying their will by allowing taxes to continue to exist, because the alternative to them doing that would be no taxes, which would collapse the government. It's not as though if we stopped sending bulldozers to Israel, like the country would fall apart. It's not even a defensive issue. Like, it's not, no Israeli civilian is going to get harmed because they didn't have enough bulldozers. So, like, what possible reason could the Senate minority leader have for continuously ramming his head against a wall and doing something that he knows will do nothing but make Democrat voters feel disenfranchised? It's a very public vote. You know, it's not like it's not like a little procedural thing. People care about this as much as you would prefer they didn't. Even Slotkin voted against it. Well, Slotkin's going to run for president, which will be, you know, super cool. They're just as guilty as Israel for this genocide. The Democrats? Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, they're literally, like, enabling it from afar. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, 100%. No, like, unambiguously, like, by any basic, sensible, moral calculus, that's the conclusion you arrive at, yeah. Zionist media is consolidating in Europe. German-based media group Axel Springer SE, which is acquiring the Daily Telegraph, outlined mandatory core values for staff. These include explicit support for Israel. Cool. They own media groups like Bild, Die Welt, Politico, and Business Insider. This is why I said, remember, the rot that has consumed America is not specific to America. It's going to hit all of you. We in the West have allowed a very specific, like, hyper fucking neoliberal, ghoulish MIC-aligned corporatist base to control, like, all media and all politics. And they've all decided that it's in their best interest to defend Israel. Some of them are Jewish supremacists. A lot of them aren't. You know, it doesn't really matter. Saw the Ethan Klein video on the one-state solution being the only solution. I didn't see it, and I'm not going to see it, but, you know, what's the old saying? One day everyone will have always been against this. Take notes now, because in 10 years, 20 years, all those libshits are going to be like, yeah, of course everyone knew it was a genocide. It was just the left was acting so unproductively that it made it difficult to even have the conversation. Meanwhile, you flash back 10 years, they very much did not think it was a genocide, and they were arguing not only against the left, but against the majority opinion of liberal Democratic voters. Yeah, you keep the tabs now, okay? These motherfuckers will lie to you. They will gaslight you. I think he means Ezra Klein, not Ethan Klein. That makes so much more sense than Ethan Klein saying that. I was like, that motherfucker's way too crazy to bow to the shifting tides, you know? Okay. Okay. That wasn't me speaking. That was the person in chat giving me the wrong name. That makes way more sense from Ezra Klein. Anyway, yeah, it's pretty bad. I don't know. Do you stand by your first point about the future? I don't know what you mean. I do think that like this is the big apathy that I want to. Somebody in chat, name censored because they're preserving their anonymity, said they had a family member who was like liberal and anti-Trump, you know, Democrat, good Democrat, but had checked out of politics because it was too stressful and they were feeling too hopeless. And what I want you all to understand is that another Biden presidency could legitimately just permanently disenfranchise like 20 million good liberal Democrats from participation. They're already black-pilled as fuck right now. Approval of the Democratic Party is in the shitter. It's lower than approval for Trump. They look at Congress every day and like Democrats in Congress, not only can they not do anything, but like they can't even decide what they want to do. Their minority leaders in the House and the Senate are just openly flouting their support for a demonic genocidal ethno-state that the Democratic Party is increasingly aligned against. The average American is against Israel now, let alone the average Democrat. So like if fucking Alyssa Slotkin wins and she's like, well, as my first act as the first woman president, I'm going to do what women have always wanted to do, support Israel, or there's some inane idpol bullshit neolibs love to do. Like, I think that it's not just that the country would get worse. I need you all to understand, things are only going to be getting worse for a long time now. Many of us won't even live to see them get better. I hope I do. But like, I think that things will get much worse faster, and I think they will go down to like a lower bar if we essentially teach the liberal half of the country that there's no point in participating. Like, the Republicans have been told there's a point in participating. If they vote hard enough, they can get anything they want. Well, kind of. The Republicans don't exactly give them what they want, but they do give them shiny toys, you know, culture war stuff. And these Republicans are stupid. That's fine for them. There is a relationship between a Republican voting for who they want and them getting at least something to chew on. But for the Democrats, apparently you don't get fucking anything, dog, which means that, in effect, they're disenfranchised, right? Republican voters have a party that represents them, a party of child rape and racism. Democratic voters, who want stuff like, I don't know, equality, don't get a party that represents them. So they are disenfranchised. And if they feel disenfranchised, they're going to get apathetic and they're not going to participate. And if they don't participate, it's going to be even harder to pull this country out of the pit in the future. That is the apathy death that I want to fight against. That's the thing that I'm worried about with Gavin Newsom, with Kamala Harris, with Alyssa Slotkin. That's the thing that I fear. It's not that the country is going to get worse. It will anyway. It's that you don't want to teach the people in this country who do have a heart, who do have a conscience, that there's no point in them trying. Because unfortunately, if the Democrats put forward Slotkin or Gavin Newsom or whatever, that's what they will be telling their constituents, and they will be right. There will have been no point in voting. You can't change anything. It might be true, but I don't want the average Democrat to believe it, because it's not going to be true forever. And if you believe that it's true, you're less likely to make the changes necessary to keep it from being true in the future. Your perceived disenfranchisement contributes to a feeling of apathy that might prevent you from taking advantage of opportunities in the future to seize power and not be disenfranchised. I just don't want people to be apathetic. But right now, all the Democratic Party is selling is apathy. So, you know. But that's just my opinion. Israel reinstates soldiers charged with raping on camera a Palestinian detainee? Yeah, that sounds right. I don't know what else you'd expect them to do. Have you seen the corporate debt bubble? You're just linking a Wikipedia page. Is that the story that included them training a dog to rape? I'm pretty sure they've done that more than once. It's the same thing Pinochet did, and we supported him. Wait, what? IDF training rape dogs to rape Palestinians. Didn't know that was even a thing. I could have known that was a thing just I could have assumed it from first principles, like from priors. You tell me Israel's doing a thing, first thought to my head, rape? The answer is yes. The answer is always yes. And then you just work it out from there. Fine details. Are you saying actual dogs? Yes, I'm saying dogs. All right, let me see. Pinochet did this. Are you going in Goku cosplay? Play Disco Elysium. Here? Okay, we don't need to, like, get too in the weeds on this, okay? Leading Human Rights Group has published testimony of a Palestinian man who said guards used a dog to rape him in a notorious Israeli detention camp. The testimony is the most recent of at least 4 reports of dogs being used in the sexual torture of detainees at the Sid Taman facility and elsewhere. Yeah, this isn't even this is just a tiny sliver of the. If I wanted to dedicate my stream to helping you guys understand just how evil Israel is, it would be the content of every stream. Like, it would be like we wouldn't, like, every day. We've spent the past 80 years teaching people what the Nazis were like, you know? I think we can you know, reasonably assume a lot of the behavior that Israel is engaging in. All right, well. You hear Europe is considering a European NATO without the US? Then do it, bitch. They consider lots of things.
I've been trying to think about how to begin this episode, which is a very, very tricky one. And I found
not for a guy like me.
Myself thinking about a debate I heard a lot in 2023 and 2024. You would hear these chants and see these songs.
We're getting now, like, the short-term version of the one day everyone will have always been against this from Ezra Klein. Like, Ezra Klein has been a cheerleader and champion of genocide for years, just in a moderate, you know, chin-stroking kind of way. But now, like, the needle's moved too far, so he has to pretend that some new revelation has come about that has changed his position, rather than it just being impossible to continue to hold this position in the face of public opinion turning. So now it's like, oh, well, you know, at the time I felt this, but then after Israel did the same thing 500,000 times in a row, that's what changed my mind.
From the river to the sea. From the river to the sea. And it flared into this huge controversy.
Free Palestine from the river to the sea means get rid of all the Jews.
No, from the river to the sea means the land in between is free. Everyone in between is free.
No, this is a genocidal chant.
What was always so strange to me, so backwards about this focus on college campus protesters, was that there was this reality people weren't really admitting, that there is one power from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea. That power, that sovereign, which if you travel in that area, and I have, is just visually undeniable.
It takes so long to say everything. Have you considered the regional power in Israel as Israel? Holy shit, really?
Is Israel. American politics is
the
not
fucking enormously powerful militarized ethno-state given money and weapons by the United States that also has illegal nuclear weapons that it hasn't registered and refuses to acknowledge the existence of, and that drafts like everyone of a certain that country, they have sole control over the region that they have control over.
Grappled really at all.
I'm sorry, I hate Ezra Klein. I just hate this, like, New York Times editorial columnist, chin-stroking Substack motherfucker type who's, like, arriving at basic, obvious conclusions everyone left of center arrived at ages ago, but they take forever to get there because they were, like, completely beholden to consultancy beforehand. So now they have to contrive some, like, intellectual justification for their pulling over, like, after the average Democratic voter already has, you know?
With the level of day-to-day domination that Israel exerts over Palestinian lives, and the complete absence of any horizon at all.
Yeah, been like that since the Nakba. Like, it's been like that unrelentingly for 80 years with no change in the conditions. They have continued to have unrelenting, overwhelming control over Palestinian lives for longer than you and I have been alive. Nothing new has happened. Nothing's changed.
For that to end. And this was true before October 7th.
Whoa!
In early 2023, the political scientists Michael Barnett, Nathan Brown, Mark Lynch, and Shibli Talhami published an edited volume called The One-State Reality. Their argument, which they also made in a very controversial foreign affairs piece, was that, quote, Palestine is not a state in waiting, and Israel is not a democratic state incidentally occupying Palestinian territory. All the territory west of the Jordan River has long constituted a single state under Israeli rule, where the land and the people are subject to radically different legal regimes.
That's such a crazy and controversial argument. That's fucking why they really said that thing that's been true for 80 years that everyone everywhere knows. That's crazy.
And Palestinians are permanently treated.
I guess if you mostly got your news from the New York Times, from Ezra Klein, this might actually be really novel to you. You're like, well, I'll be. It's like some kind of apartheid state over there. You're telling me that Palestinians and Israelis have two different sets of laws to follow? Why isn't anyone talking about this?
As a lower caste.
Oh!
What they were saying then is that the hope of a two-state solution in the future had become a way many in America particularly avoided reckoning with the one-state reality of the present. That reality was not accidental. It is not intended to be transient. It was being etched into the land in stone and cement, in settlements and checkpoints, in the construction of walls and the demolition of homes. That might have been a controversial claim when they made it.
In 2023. I'm like, I can't believe. I got an email recently from someone who was like, do you think Ezra Klein's more reasonable than you think? Really? This guy? That might, now listen, viewer, that might sound crazy, all those things I just told you. What's with this affect he's pushing? To make 80 IQ people feel smart. It's basically like the liberal equivalent of neo-Nazi Twitter midwits who pretend that they've read, like, Evol or whatever, you know? They're the kind of person who talks about fascism not in a, like, oorah race war way, but more in a, like, yes, it's true. Mankind has always been following the curvature of its evolutionary trajectory, and it seems our trajectories diverged some time ago. And it's just like, you like get to the root of what they're saying, and they're basically saying, like, black people scary, you know? But it's meant to make you feel smart. It's meant to make you feel smart. You're so smart.
What has happened since October 7th has made it an undeniable reality. Israel now occupies more than half of Gaza. More than 2 million Gazans have been hurt.
Actually, occupies all of Gaza, because occupation refers not only to the literal physical presence of soldiers, but also to political and military dominion, which they have complete and absolute power over.
Herded into less than half of the land they formerly occupied. And Gaza, it should be said, was already one of the most overcrowded places on Earth.
Fascinating.
The conditions Gazans now live in...
I feel very on the money so far that this is a video justifying a change in perspective that he's had for the first time in a many decades long career. Not many, but like several decades long career. But so far, every piece of evidence he cited to justify his change in position is from 80 years ago.
And there is no near term, there's no imagined, there's no envisioned relief. This is and it remains collective punishment. Hamas, not the children of Gaza, attacked Israel on October 7th. The conditions the children of Gaza now live in are not, they're not more...
It's revolutionary stuff if you read the New York Times and you were under the impression that October 7th was when a, you know, fucking company of Palestinian children invaded Israel.
In the West Bank, Israel has choked off money to the Palestinian Authority. It has built settlements, chosen to build settlements, at a record pace. More...
They didn't just appear there on their own? Fucking $20,000 more to his Substack. They chose to build it? They didn't just spontaneously erupt like acne from the earth?
Settlements were approved in the last year alone than in the 2 decades before combined. Israel has protected a terrifying rise in settler violence and military violence.
I hadn't heard about
towards
this
the
until
Palestinians.
right now.
There is no doubt, if you go there, who rules the West Bank, and it is not the PA. When Netanyahu signed a recent settlement project, a project the United States had opposed for a long time because it would effectively bisect the West Bank, making a Palestinian state physically unimaginable. Netanyahu made clear that that was exactly why he was signing it.
It's sanitizing the liberal Zionist perspective. I personally just think it's important to remember that none of these people believe in fucking anything. That authentic, sincere belief has been scoured from the surface of the American political and consultancy classes as effectively as I don't know, as a solar flare would scour the magnetosphere of the Earth. It's all gone. It literally doesn't exist. It might have some time ago. 100 years ago, things might have been different, but not now. I don't think it would actually scour the magnetosphere. It'd scour the ozone, right? I don't know. I don't really know how the sun works. It's like a god, right? The sun's a god, and there's a solar flare when he's mad at you. I don't know. Don't worry about it. Yes? Okay, gotcha.
He said, "We are going to fulfill our promise. There will be no Palestinian state. This place belongs to us." In the north, Israel has used war in Iran as cover to invade Lebanon, displacing more than 1 million people. 1 million, and
he's saying like 1 million, like it's shocking and not just like a number you could. I hate inauthenticity. I really do. I understand that to an extent, if you work in politics, a degree of inauthenticity is necessary, if for no other reason than because the average voter has the, I don't know, mental faculties of a cow. So sometimes you kind of have to like soft pitch them ideas because they genuinely wouldn't understand the actual plan. I understand. I get that. Okay. But this degree of inauthenticity genuinely sickens me. You can be like you can engage in every bad faith defense of Israel, every time-wasting, pearl-clutching, hand-waving defense, we need to move past this conversation, pretending it doesn't matter, pretending that if it does matter, we're doing all we can, over and over and over and over and over again. And then finally you change your mind, and your justification for doing so is this poorly thought out. Not even any, like, real reckoning with your conscience. He's not even, like, after believing these things for so long, like, is he suggesting that he didn't know all this? Like, none of this information was available to him, Ezra Klein, this whole time? Why is he telling us this? You're the one who changed your mind. I haven't changed my mind. I've been morally consistent since day one. I've always believed this. So you're the one who changed your mind. You tell me, why did you change your mind? You're just telling me why I should agree with you now. I already knew why. I can't, it's infuriating to me. It's so fucking infuriating to me. It's so angering that, like, you can just, I don't even care that he makes money from it or that he's powerful or whatever, because he does and he is. You know, what I care about, I guess, is the idea that, like, this is the only way you can do things now, you know? Like, it's in the environment that has been created, there's not only room for this to flourish, but, like, it's the only thing that can.
Suggesting that up to 600,000 will not be allowed to return to their homes until Israel has established its security zone, whatever that proves to be, and that it is decided that Israelis in the north are safe. To put it bluntly, it is an open question whether any of those 600,000 Lebanese will ever be able to return to their homes, or if they will even have homes.
I know, because I read news sources that aren't the New York Times. What's your point?
to return to. I do not want to underplay what Israel is actually dealing with here. I have immense sympathy for Israel's war against Hezbollah. They are defending themselves in a way any state would.
By invading the state, occupying it, demolishing all of the residences, displacing over 1 million people, and then creating settlements illegally to establish a buffer zone so you can continue to, just like any state would, really.
But this, again, is collective punishment. Those million Lebanese, they are not all Hezbollah. Israel's security challenges are very real. Its horror, its fear, its trauma after October 7th was very real. Its
I haven't heard about it.
determination to make sure that never happened again is what any state and any people would do. Its right to reprisal against Hamas and Hezbollah were undeniable. I am not someone who wants to see the state of Israel cease to exist, but what Israel is choosing here.
Ezra Klein speaking directly to his AIPAC handlers, you know, please listen, I'm still on your side. I'm still laundering Israeli propaganda, but the shift in democratic public opinion is forcing me to take a slightly different stance on this.
A one-state reality that already is and will continue to be understood the world over as apartheid. It endangers that state too. The cost of Israel cannot morally be the permanent subjugation of millions of Palestinians. In February, Gallup found for the first time more Americans sympathize with the Palestinians than the Israelis.
So he hasn't actually changed his mind? Nope. Hence the position, one day everyone will have always been against this. He's this inauthentic piece of shit isn't even explaining how he changed his mind, even though that is what he's saying he's doing. He's pretending that he's always had this position. He's just catching you up on what he believes, on what he's always believed.
Among Democrats, among young Americans, it is not even close.
And here's why.
Israel maintains support among older Americans, and it has benefited from the advanced age of the last two presidents. Their views of Israel were forged in another time, around another Israel.
It was the same Israel.
American politics has not yet fully grappled with what Israel has chosen to become.
It always was this.
For decades, for my entire...
As infuriating as it is, it's still a good sign people like him are turning, but he's not turning. He still believes what he believes, and he's actively lying to you because he's trying to remain relevant. Why would he want to remain relevant without actually shifting his opinion? Because he remains their agent, an agent of Israel, an agent of the deep state. Why else would he, or let me put it another way, why an inauthentic turn if he actually was changing his mind? Because this is absolutely inauthentic. Why not an authentic turn? If he was only trying to remain popular, then he would be anti-Israel. Why stay pro-Israel, and why frame it in such a disingenuous way? Because his perspective is unchanged. He is still an ally to the project of genocide. He now, rather than directly opposing it or pretending that it's, you know, not happening at all, now he will do what every liberal fucking shitlib pundit will do, which is waste time by, you know, half-assing solutions or acting as though the left is poisoning the well by being anti-Semitic, even though the left was right in everything they said, and he's now moving to that position, even as he pretends that he's not. Seems authentic to me. I don't know. Thanks, guy who only reads NYT. Phenomenal. The music really does it, I guess. The fake, like,
life. Discourse in America around Israel has always been couched in the future tense. It has always sat in the language of solutions. Do you support a two-state solution? Do you support a one-state solution? I don't think this is a time to talk about solutions. I think that is a way of sheltering ourselves.
The reason he doesn't want to talk about it is because it's become increasingly obvious that no version of that problem can be solved while Israel exists in the form that it does. Like, you want a one-state solution? You can't because Israelis are evil. You want a two-state solution? You can't because Israelis are evil. If you talk about solutions, you have to talk about the obstacle to implementing them, and the obstacle in both cases is that Israel is evil, so he can't talk about it. He doesn't want to talk about anything that would betray just how bad the problem is.
what is actually happening. I think what is needed now is simply a confrontation with realities.
Phenomenal. They didn't even acknowledge. Oh, just we need to engage with reality. After 3 years of this, man, 3 fucking years of this. God, I hate him. I hate him so much. In a way, it's kind of like the pundit version of the revolving door villain theory, no? Left it at that, yeah. No apologies to all the people that he smeared or all the bad faith. And just go look at everything that he's contributed to the New York Times, everything he said about Israel, and boy, does he write a lot. Man, he writes a lot. Deep State loves him. Remember his Ta-Nehisi Coates debate? Yeah. Don't forget the monstrous people he's platformed. I won't. His call to action was what exactly? He was just informing his Zionist handlers that he's going to be shifting his rhetoric slightly, and he's trying to appease the leftward shifting Democratic base on this issue. Anyway. Somebody smells midterm change approaching. As this becomes more of a 90-10 issue among Democrats, the Zionists are going to have to find ways to cloak themselves amidst you. They're going to have to find ways to make their poison more palatable when, like, basically every single Democrat in America is uniformly anti-Israel. Always have Fetterman? Well, no, Fetterman will be out soon. The Dems are going to force out the non-pro-Israel candidate in 2028, aren't they? I mean, the 3 people most likely to run that we know of right now are Slotkin, Gavin Newsom, and Kamala Harris, and all 3 of them are slaves to Israel. So you take your pick. FYI, that was just an intro to this video. I'm not watching that video. Did you guys hear that we're handing a national forest over to a foreign mining company? On a 49-50 vote, it just passed through the Senate. A Chilean mining company wants to develop a copper mine upstream from the Boundary Waters, a pristine wilderness. Yippee. Motion passed 50-49, and now goes to Trump's desk. Genuine question. I'm not being rhetorical or facetious. Why did it pass through the filibuster? Why did it not need 60 votes? I'm actually, if somebody could explain to me, my understanding was that. Why did no one invoke it? If somebody could give me an answer to this, I'd appreciate it. Probably shoved into some reconciliation thing. Was it?
You see how there's like snowmobile tracks and then they just stop?
Yeah.
That's the boundary. For decades, powerful corporations have had their eye on lands like this, some of the most pristine wilderness and recreation areas in America that have valuable resources buried beneath them.
They just want to grab some money so they can, go buy a third villa in Italy or something.
And now they're on the verge of getting their wish.
And we will turn the Iron Range into a mineral powerhouse like never before. That's what it is.
Over the last few months, Republicans in Congress have quietly worked to hand over our most protected lands to billionaires.
I think that proponents of this project would have you believe that the American people benefit from this project, but for the life of me, I can't seem to understand how that works out.
I would still really appreciate if somebody in chat could explain to me why this was allowed to pass with a 50-vote majority.
They are a foreign mining company. They don't really care what happens here. They just want the copper.
It's a scheme that could unlock millions.
The vote bypassed the 60-vote filibuster threshold using the Congressional Review Act, a legislative tool that allows Congress to overturn federal agency rules or action with simple majority. Okay, anti-administrative state stuff. Gotcha.
Of acres of public lands across the U.S. for private corporations. I went to Minnesota, ground zero in the fight over who gets to control our public lands. To understand what a mine would mean for communities like this.
Job creation is extremely important.
They are only doing this because of greed.
How what happens here could change the fate of our protected lands across the country, and if there's still a chance to stop it.
Nope.
Who really stands to benefit from mining here? There's no roads. Airplanes have to fly quite high over. It's just so quiet.
Paul and Sue Shirkey run a dog sledding business called Wintergreen. Their business relies on access to the Boundary Waters, a protected wilderness area in northeast Minnesota.
She'll be one of our lead dogs today.
Federally designated wilderness areas are the most protected public lands in America, places where Congress has drawn a harder line against extraction and development. Along with our national parks, monuments, and forests, public lands make up more than 640 million acres in the U.S.
What makes America so special is that we have these public lands. No matter what your economic status, you can...
The finality of the measure. Once passed by a simple majority and signed by the president, this CRA resolution not only reverses the mining ban, but also bars future administrations from issuing similar protections on the same land. What? You can't even re-protect it in the... Okay. Sorry, guys. The law means that we have to all get raped to death forever by pedophiles. Sorry. Sorry, guys. The words on the book say that the world has to end. There's nothing we can do.
Go hunt, you go fish, you can go camp, you can go learn about ancient history.
But to some, there is a different value in these lands.
American energy dominance.
What is before all of us is an opportunity at self-reliance.
There are more than 8 billion tons of copper, nickel, cobalt, and other minerals.
What makes America so special is its public lands where anyone can go, which no other country in the world has. You're smarmy, but you're wrong to be smarmy. America is unique for its federally protected land. We have a unique, not only range of biomes available for people to explore and access, but our national parks and our widely protected federal land, it's actually like the envy of the world. Many countries have this. No, that's actually not true. We have uniquely well-protected and beautiful land, and we have a lot of it. Well, we did. We're losing it now. Canada has that? Yeah, but Canada's all frozen. It's more of a necessity of your you know, of your ecology.
Beneath the Superior National Forest, where the boundary...
Sweden has extensive protections. Don't fucking argue with me. I don't care about Sweden. No one cares about Sweden, okay? I eat your little fish. Ooh, do. I eat your fish. I'm right. Google it. I'm not arguing with you.
Waters is located.
Norway, Sweden, Finland have a lot too. Because half your countries are frozen. America protected vast swaths of productive land. We turned beautiful prairies and ranges and forests that could have been deforested into federally protected land. That's the difference. Yeah, your gigantic fucking Greenland ass country, your glacial country, some of it, well, what would you even want to do there? Pee in the snow? Right with yellow? No. We're special. Fuck you.
These minerals are in high demand for batteries, computer chips, and the build-out of data centers. Minnesota is no stranger to having valuable minerals beneath its soil. Back in the 20th century, this region supplied most of the country's iron, earning it the name the Iron Range. But the mining industry started to die out by the 1980s, decimating jobs in nearby communities like Ely.
How would having a new mine here change things in Ely?
Well, I think it would obviously create jobs and like a temporary influx of money, right? Which is something that I think any community in this area will tell you is something that they need.
Matthew Schultz is a public lands enthusiast who lives in Ely, the town closest to the Boundary Waters and to the potential mine site.
This seems like as good a spot as any.
I joined him ice fishing to talk about how mining would impact the community here.
I will grab a couple fishing rods.
Great.
And a fish finder. I think it's naive to say like it wouldn't create jobs. Of course it would. Of course there would be like massive community investment from the company. That's good business.
Twin Metals, the company behind the mine proposal, is a U.S. offshoot of a billion-dollar Chilean mining company called Antofagasta. They have 2 mining leases here in the Superior National Forest. Twin Metals promises that their mine will create 750 jobs, with an average salary of $100,000. In an area where the median household income is $46,000, it's an enticing offer. But today's mining jobs look a lot different from those of Minnesota's Iron Range. Antofagasta's mine in Chile uses driverless trucks and autonomous drills. They even introduced remote operation centers, where workers operate mining equipment from major cities, nowhere near the mine site.
This company's really bad. They did a lot of fucked up shit in Chile. Like I said, man, the Republicans just want to turn this country into Russia, you know? Destroy everything and all of its beauty. Trump's never been to a national park. They don't go on hikes. They go to Dubai.
Automations like these make mining jobs a lot safer, but they also mean that the people doing these mining jobs might not even live in the community.
No one who grew up in Ely, Minnesota, is prepared to operate robotic mining equipment.
Twin Metals says its jobs will be high-tech positions, including those at a computer-based center in Babbitt, a neighboring town. For many Minnesotans, what's more concerning is what the mine could mean for other jobs in the region.
There we go.
Yep, that's a fish.
They're going to be rearing to go right off the bat.
Certainly takes the edge off one's intrigue with going on a wilderness canoe trip when you know you're going to be dealing with the impacts of one of the biggest industrial operations in the world.
You want the ball of your foot as far back as possible.
Wilderness tourism is the bedrock of Ely's economy. More than 60 small businesses operate lodges, rent equipment, and run tours for the 250,000 people who visit every year.
So here at Wintergreen, we're just downstream from it by, as the crow flies, maybe 3 miles downstream, but we're told that we'll be impacted by the light.
Environmentalists have fought for years to block the proposed mine, saying it could contaminate the region's interconnected lakes and streams with heavy metals, sulfuric acid, and other toxic substances. Native American tribes fear the runoff from mining could devastate a watershed they rely on for fishing and wild rice harvesting. Fishing and hunting groups have also been opposed. Yes, sir. The U.S. Forest Service, which is now being dismantled, in 2016 and again in 2022 concluded the proposed mine posed significant risks, including potential water and soil contamination.
Dust and noise pollution from this mine.
The proposed Twin Metals mine, which is actually upstream from where we're fishing right now, it would be dealing largely in sulfide ore, which has never actually been done in the state of Minnesota.
The moves came after the Chilean billionaire Andronico Luksic, whose family controlled the mining giant Antofagasta, rented a house in Washington to Ivanka Trump. the president's daughter and her husband, Jared Kushner. Ethics experts raised concerns about the rental deal. Representatives for Mr. Luksik called it a standard real estate transaction that happened to involve the president's family.
Soda.
Copper sulfide mining is considered one of the most toxic types of mining because of the risk of acid mine drainage.
Each and every place in the world where they've done this kind of mining, they've triggered this reaction and they've not found a solution. And in the process, they've rendered vast areas.
There's a whole article on how corrupt the billionaire's advocacy was. A plan to mine the Minnesota wilderness hit a dead end. Then Trump became president. Oh, wow, this is quite an article. Oh, man. Antofagasta's environmental record, however, has raised concerns. In Chile, the company's Los Perambres copper mine has suffered toxic spills. The company said the mine had experienced only minor incidents involving limited spills, which were not toxic, and said it was proud of its environmental record. Celebrity tenants in Washington. House the president's daughter and Jared Kushner. The problem is copper is at a premium price and there's a lot of copper in this area. I'm sure there's other places we can get copper from. I'm sure that we don't have to open up our protected federal lands to foreign mining companies with a record of toxic spills. On a trip to Minnesota in April, Mr. Trump was jubilant about the restoration of mining. Under the previous administration, he said at a truck factory, America's rich natural resources were put under lock and key. The changes since then, he said, were really pretty amazing.
Biological dead zones.
The idea that we could take this place where I go to catch my fish that I feed my household with, the concept of maybe contaminating those fish past the point of consumption would be extremely detrimental to the way I live my life.
Twin Metals says that instead of storing waste in above-ground pits that can break or flood, it will store the mine waste underground, making acid mine drainage a non-issue. But even at mines that use this storage technique, like the Pogo mine in Alaska, there has been groundwater contamination.
I have no doubt that that is the best, latest, and greatest way to handle mine tailings. Why would they do otherwise, right? But to me, that doesn't really mean anything, because latest and greatest.
Devil's advocate, wouldn't the US and Canada utilize the most environmentally protective mining anywhere in the world? Probably not relative to like some European countries, but like there are other places in America that we could mine copper from, you know? Doesn't have to be here. And even then, we're doing it to a foreign company that has a record of bad labor and environmental practices.
In that industry is still largely untested, and it's really unclear what the consequences could be.
Do you believe that it is possible to do copper sulfide mining safely?
Also, you have to keep in mind the cost benefit. If they open up a copper mine in this part of Minnesota, that's it forever, dog. Like, keep in mind what these mines look like. Like, you're altering the landscape for all time. It's not going back to what it was. Maybe it's worth it for the copper 50, 100 years from now. What about 10,000? I mean, we're talking, it's like losing old growth forests, you know? You're talking about like going after them because you want to lower the cost of copper is like selling a kidney to make rent. Like, you have to make rent, but you better make sure that that's not like it had better be the last possible way you could have made that money, you know? Just Google where our main copper deposits are. They're just choosing that for us because they're evil. Yeah, pretty much. Keep in mind that the language of this legislation that just passed through the Senate, it's not just about this mine. It destroys the ability for the federal government to block a wider variety of extractive permits. It's not just about this one. It's like they're opening the door up to the rest of the federally protected land.
I'm very skeptical to the point where I don't believe that because they've never proven it yet. It's never been done safely anywhere in the world.
Within this watershed, there's timber harvest opportunities, there's granite and gravel mining. I don't have beef with any of those things, right? It's specifically this project and in this place that I think would be irresponsible.
These environmental concerns are why the Biden administration canceled Twin Metals mining leases and placed a 20-year mining ban on the area starting in 2023. For many people here, the fight over whether or not to mine was over. Until...
We will end that ban in about, what do you think, about 10 minutes?
President Trump campaigned on opening up America's public lands to industry, including the area right outside the boundary waters.
What are the arguments that Republicans in Congress or people who are in favor of this mine are making about why we need this or why this would benefit Americans?
We use critical minerals in our everyday life. We use all minerals constantly, right? Like literally the ice fishing rods that we're using right now, the fish finder that we're using, and our cell phones all require these minerals. I don't think anyone is denying that.
We're facing a crisis in our country because foreign adversaries...
I feel like I've read this before. On the subject of copper specifically, I've read this before. I'm pretty sure that you could save / produce or regain a lot of copper. Rather than opening up new mines, you just need much more stringent recycling policies. Like, there's a lot of copper out there that's just wasted in landfills and so on. You can go after it in a way that's a lot more restored. I mean, it's a metal, right? It's pretty recyclable. It's very recyclable. You get copper, you want to reuse it, you just melt it down. So I don't know. I feel like there's a lot we could be doing to reduce the cost if we want to. Like I've talked about this before in the context of like old growth wood. One of the problems that we're having with what we use wooden boards for is the new growth wood that we harvest en masse sucks. It's fine for construction. You're just making your 2x4s or whatever, but it kind of fucking sucks for making anything high quality like furniture. You take a look at here, 1 second. Old growth wood board versus new growth. You guys have you've probably seen this before, but trees that have had a long time to develop produce much stronger boards, much better wood than stuff like this. Look at all the tear out at this corner of this board, you know? Old boards are so treasured that oftentimes when you do construction projects where you tear up old flooring, people will save the old boards. If they're more than 100 years old, they're probably pretty good. Anyway, the problem is, like, if you wanted to sustainably harvest old growth wood, it would take a long time. But you know what? I think it's worth it. I think that, like, if we opened up more land for timber farming, and rather than harvesting every 10 years, we harvested every century in like the districts that you farm for. And I mean, this would be like a national project. It'd be a big deal, and it would make the wood more expensive, you know? But I think if we did it right, it would mean that we could have widely commercially available high-end old growth wood for everyone. It would be more expensive. And you'd still probably want the cheaper stuff for construction, yeah. But it would be nice, I think. It just kind of sucks that, like, in wood specifically, if you want high quality wood, you basically have to go after fallen wood slabs or dig up stuff from the past. Because now if you want to make something with wood, you got to deal with this crap, you know? Still different species of wood, not just age. You're spreading misinformation. Keep whining about it. You know perfectly well what I'm saying is correct. The fact that these are different species, it's just illustrating a point, you jackass. You know what I'm saying is correct. The difference between old and new growth wood is a real thing. You're just nitpicking. You know more about wood than me. I bet you I know more about... It's a dick joke. Just fill in a dick joke in your head. Slobbing on them knobs. Accusing me of spreading misinformation when I'm literally fucking correct. Anyway, there are plenty of differences. Like, or plenty of evidence. You can see, man, the density. Anyway, I guess the point that I'm getting at is that we should probably... There are a finite number of resources on Earth, like even stuff that literally grows from the ground, like a tree. There's still a temporal limit to how much we can access. So if we start putting limits on how we can use them and in what, like, quantities, we can preserve it for future use. We do this for a lot of resources, by the way. Like, usually more minute stuff, but we do it. We can do it for copper. We can do it for wood. We can do it for everything. It just takes a bit of responsibility. Yeah, I'm talking about proper resource management, 100%.
Hold our critical minerals, which are critical to everything we do in medical, in our military.
Seeing representatives testify on the House floor and pointing towards all these things that I used to work on in the Navy and basically saying, like, we have to do this project or we can't have those things. That's absurd. That's absolutely absurd.
That's because mining is only the first step. The raw material still has to be processed before it can be used in electronics or infrastructure. And China still dominates that part of the supply chain.
They openly acknowledge that they intend to send the copper to China, and they've already got pending contracts to receive this copper. So that dismisses any notion that this is a national security issue.
There's no guarantee that the minerals extracted from here in Northeast Minnesota will find their way back into our...
Yeah, that's literally not how the economy works. It doesn't work that way for any material production or extraction anymore. And it hasn't for decades. Iron, copper, steel, diamonds, whatever. If you're making it in the US, that does not guarantee it's going to stay there. That's not how that works.
National supply.
So I feel like the people here are being duped.
Who really stands to benefit from mining here?
Antofagasta.
It's puzzling the clout that they have with the Trump administration.
Antofagasta is owned by the Luksic family.
One of the most powerful and wealthiest families in South America.
They own huge parts of Chile's economy, from copper mines and banks
Remember,
to beer...
the right-wing global class is multinational. They are in complete alignment all across the world.
companies and shipping containers. They also own a $5.5 million mansion in DC, which they rent to Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner. For the last decade, Antofagasta and Twin Metals have spent nearly $6 million lobbying the US government, trying to seal the deal on their Minnesota mine. And last year, Twin Metals hired the Bernhardt Group, a lobbying firm started by David Bernhardt, Trump's former Interior Secretary.
Bernhardt, a former oil lobbyist, helped roll back regulations overseen by the department.
Remember, middle managers.
Soon after, Trump's deputy...
Sometimes they enter into government, but that's just when they get to sit back easy, get a cushy job, and, you know, let everyone else do the work for the bit. The real tough job is working behind the scenes.
Secretary of the Interior, who previously worked under David Bernhardt, restored Twin Metals mining leases. But these leases are only valuable if the mining ban is overturned, which Republican Representative Pete Stauber is quietly trying to do.
We need to mine more, and we should have started yesterday.
He introduced a bill to reverse Biden's mining ban through a rarely used legal procedure that allows Congress to overturn a ruling from a federal agency.
The Congressional Review Act was birthed during the Clinton years, and it's laid dormant because it doesn't really have teeth, and no president wants to go down to be the one who starts, dismantling these natural places.
A public land order, like the moratorium, is created through a democratic process with public input. Hundreds of thousands of people weighed in during that public input period and said that they support protecting boundary waters. Now we're unraveling this moratorium in Congress with a simple majority and no public input.
Community members in Ely have come together to preserve the protections that they fought for. Still, House Republicans voted to repeal the mining ban.
So
people treat stuff like this like it's a procedural failure, like they imagine that the way to solve this would be some incredibly complicated interlocking series of checks and balances. But in reality, all you need to do is make sure that your politics aren't completely captured by billionaire pedophiles. And in order to do that, you have to crack down on income inequality, lobbying, and corporate control of media. And that's it. That literally just solves it right there. It's not, the system isn't the issue. There is no system you could build that would be immune to the effects of the most powerful people in your country are cooperating billionaire pedophiles that all understand the game and run the media and everything else also. Like, there's no way, you can't procedurally get your way out of that. You just have to change the people on top, you know? Or I should say, you have to change the incentive structure so that the people with power aren't the aforementioned billionaire pedophiles.
if people wanted to protect this area, why do you think Republicans in Congress are pushing to overturn the mineral withdrawal?
I think it goes down to the classic concept of, like, smoke them if you got them, right? Like, if you can make money, then make money at any cost.
Now, the Senate has until the end of
How would you change it? I mean, incredibly aggressive wealth tax probably would be a good way. You have to, it's a not an easy thing to solve. You have to cut down on income inequality and wealth inequality massively. That means much higher taxes, and a re-emboldening of social programs. Also, I don't know how I feel about corporate news media existing at all. Maybe all news media should just be like PBS. PBS is pretty okay. They have their biases, but if you compare them to most, they're probably okay. That'd be a good template to start from. Like, rather than news media being run by the aforementioned billionaire pedophiles, at least have it be run by, like, boring technocratic liberals. I guess that's like a step up, you know? That's like, it's an improvement, right? Probably like a fuck ton of legislation involved in punishing the people who brought us to this point as well. Like, there should be levels of corruption and incompetence and dishonesty that land you in a jail cell for sure. Like, I don't think that Fox News should be allowed to do all that, in my opinion. I think that, like, you could like, a lot of the stuff they say would fit the definition of libel or slander, but we don't treat it that way, even though we should. Like, it's not about criticizing the government. It's like a lot of the stuff they say is just factually incorrect. I don't know. We need some kind of, like, prerequisite. I think China has a law where you can't post medical advice online unless you're a doctor or something like that. And I think that's potentially a good template for a law. Like, not in that specific invocation, but you need to, like, I think that to some extent lying just has to be illegal. Not all lies, but there has to be some critical threshold over which you are such a, like, patient zero for dishonesty that you just can't be allowed to do it anymore. Like, it's crazy to me that the thing that got Alex Jones was lying about the Sandy Hook kids. He lied about everyone. Like, how is that the line, you know? That's not the only thing he said. That's not the only thing that he did. He did that. He did shit like that, like, all the time for decades. But he just, like, technically, and by the way, the shit that happened to Alex Jones, it could have happened earlier. He had lied many times like that before. Any one of those times, a sufficiently dedicated libel or slander or whatever lawsuit against him could have done the same thing. It's crazy to me that he just gets, he was just allowed to do all of it forever for free with no problems. I don't understand how you think the state won't just declare things lies that are not lies. But yeah, but you could say the same about anything. Like, why make murder illegal if the state can decide anything's murder? What if, like, you know, being Jewish is murder? Like, you can create laws with explicit and permissible barriers and boundaries and stuff. We already have it for libel and slander. Like, we already have libel slander laws. Your First Amendment rights do not protect you from a civil suit in those cases. There are things that we could do to rework it. To an extent, You just need to trust that the people making decisions are acting in good faith. And right now we can't do that because they're all completely controlled by pedophiles. But this is like a multifaceted problem that can be unsnarled with a lot of dedicated effort. You can't just do one solution and then that's it. You can't just do one solution and then like that's the only thing. Public office holders should not be allowed to lie. So this is a great example. If you're a politician, I don't think you should have the same rights as everyone else. If you sign up as a soldier, if you enlist as a soldier, you lose constitutional rights. You're enlisting as a soldier in the US Army, and as a consequence, you no longer have the same legal protections that a civilian does. Why do politicians not have this? That to me is crazy. Like, so as a soldier, you don't have First Amendment protections, at least not the same ones as we do. But as the president, you get to lie freely? That's crazy to me. I think that you could very reasonably impose some restrictions on the behavior of politicians, some limitations on their rights. And if they don't like that, they don't have to run. Like, they chose to run. They're civil servants. But they lie nonstop. And it's not just little lies either, man. It's really big, demonstrable stuff. What about this? What about more types of statements made by a politician are made by default under oath? Like, just imagine, like, very basic start. What if all official addresses made during the State of the Union, right? Just that one. What if that was considered to be under oath? So it's legally actionable if you lie during that time. Would that make the world worse or better? I don't think it would change that much. What if you expanded it? I don't know. I just think that like some internal office of accountability, it's obvious that lying is overpowered, okay? All I'm saying is that we need to do something about it. And it's not unprecedented. We already have libel slander laws. So it's not as though this has never been done before. And also, we need to ban or at least severely restrict lobbying. And also, elections need to be federally funded, not funded by donations or PACs. And also, we need to get rid of Citizens United. And also, it needs to be illegal to work in any industry after you have served as a politician that regulates that industry. You can no longer work as a lobbyist, a consultant, advisor, a contractor, or anything. You're fine. You'll live without getting on that board of like Exxon, you know? There's a million things that we need to do, and they can be done. But the goal ultimately is to establish incentive structures that keep it so that the people in charge aren't all billionaire pedophiles, right? And inevitably, that process is going to involve a lot of really difficult conversations about what rights we think are worth protecting. But it's also important to understand that right now, as a consequence of our abstemiousness and unwillingness to ask these questions, the country is actually dying. Like, right now, Republicans are pushing for war with Iran, Democrats are failing to stop it, global energy crisis, a lot of people are going to die off this, subsequent starvation, famine, like a lot of harm is being done right now, just in one microcosm, one element of our unwillingness to address, like, what do we do? What do we need to do? You know? We have to take action. Because in my opinion, if you are blanket opposed to the idea of any kind of action that I've described, any of the stuff I've talked about, I think you're complicit in what's happening right now. The idea that this system is the only system that can ever exist is insane. Like, for one, other countries have different systems, and for two, like, do you really have that limited of an imagination, or are you just like cowardly? I don't know. It's easy to accept the status quo. I think that we need to plant our feet down and admit it. We have to admit it, okay? The American experiment, the legal experiment, has failed. Our Congress is completely dysfunctional. Supreme Court is a rubber stamp for the people, the party that put them in there. Our system relies on gentlemen's agreements that are no longer being agreed upon. The president is a lunatic and has way too much power, and he's a madman. And nothing can be done about it. Nothing can be done about it. On every level, the people who are making decisions are doing so corruptly. They have a bias, not just a bias of ideology, but a bias of interest. The system has failed. We need to start talking about solutions, and it will not be as simple as implementing a wealth tax. It will involve fundamental re-examinations of the rights that people have and ought to have. And in my opinion, everything that I'm talking about right now will make Americans more free. I think that limiting the dishonesty of the ruling class will make the average American more free, because that dishonesty is not value neutral. That dishonesty is weaponized in the service of a set of policies, beliefs, and cultural practices that benefit them over us. And I think that we now live in the consequence of this, with trillions of dollars held offshore in illegal Cayman Islands accounts, untouched by taxes, greater wealth inequality than has ever been experienced by any society at any point in history, any developed society at least. I think that, like, freedom has failed. We need to build a new freedom, an active freedom, which will require active defense of our principles. And it should be worth noting, by the way, that everything that I'm talking about right now, everything that I've described, I am not even talking about socialism. I have not once mentioned a seizure of the means of production. I have not once talked about a workers' democracy. All I'm talking about is implementing changes that would better suit the ideological biases of liberals. Freedom, equality, fraternity, these things, you know? I'm only talking about defending that. To me, the socialism, you're building up from that, but we need this ground level, you know? How the fuck are you going to make socialism work if, like, when you're trying to kick that ball rolling, everyone in charge is a billionaire pedophile who's, like, lying to you and shit? Like, what do you good luck with that. The Soviet Union was also super fucking corrupt. They never got over their hierarchy problem, and they failed because of it. The Soviet Union, their economy was not able to keep up with America's, not just because America was engaging in ruthless resource extraction. The Soviets were as well. It was because the Soviet government was clumsy and ineffective. These are moral failings. If they can't solve these problems, how do you expect them to lead the future? They couldn't. We have to be better. Anyway, also they weren't socialist. That is true. Also they weren't socialist.
April to decide the fate of the Boundary Waters. If they also vote to repeal the mining ban, federal agencies will be prevented from ever issuing a similar ban in the future.
The flashpoint is the Boundary Waters. They want to break the spirit of people on that one, and then you can start applying it to other places.
The Congressional Review Act has never before been used to overturn mining bans. So if Republicans are successful here, Congress could call into question more than 100 other land management plans.
There might be 10 years of litigation over it, but by then the damage is done.
In Utah, Republicans are now trying to end protections for the Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument. All of this paves the way for the billionaire owners of the world's biggest mining companies to profit from our public lands.
So when we talk about these projects, to me it comes down to, like, is this project going to objectively benefit American people?
No. Okay, yeah. This segment has kind of outgrown the base of the discussion, I think, but that's okay. Senate votes 50 to 49 to rape America to death. Excuse me. After that rant, this video feels trite. Well, it's a symptom of the problem, right? Destroying precious federally protected land for all time just so a Chilean mining company who's owned by a person friendly with Trump can make a little bit of money. Like, it's insane, you know? But it's a symptom of the problem. No rational society that rationally allocates resources would prioritize this. You know what I mean? Like, if you think of, in a structural functionalist sense, if you think of all of America as a single body, a single society, an organ, you know, you're a blood vessel, whatever else, if you imagine it as a collective apparatus for decision-making, no rational apparatus would ever arrive at this conclusion, that the indefinite value of these lands is worth more than the profits of a foreign mining company. But we have nonetheless arrived at this conclusion because we are not making rational decisions. The question then is why, and how do we fix that? Just notice your jacket. Holy fuck, it's cool. Where'd you get it from? It's official. It's from Zaum, or the... It's from the guys. The dudes. I think it's quite nice. It's actually very well made. Price is €100 higher than it used to be. I guess inflation's kicked up. Also, very pretty model they chose. I don't quite look like that. But, you know. We'll get there. Why is everyone getting muted? Oh, I see. Because they're being annoying. What's your favorite color? I don't know if I have a favorite color. Probably like burgundy, but I don't know if I do. The stream's been doomer as fuck. Has it? I feel okay. Do they have any dark purple ones? No, this is a jacket worn by Kim Kitsuragi. In Disco Elysium. I think the one that he's wearing in Disco Elysium looks a little bit lighter than the one they actually produced, but it's kind of hard to tell since it's, you know, a little 3D model. Ooh, this art is beautiful. Look at that. At any rate, it's very similar. How do you clean it? Well, it's made out of cotton, so however you prefer, I suppose. Is it reversible, though? No, it's not reversible. Is that what you're wearing right now? Yes. Look. It has a very nice quilted interior. Doesn't that look gorge? Very high quality. It feels good. I gotta get some patches to put on here. Can't leave it blank forever. See? Kim's aerostatic pilot jacket. Cute, no? Does it have the holographic patch on the back? It's shiny. Can we get a standing shot of the fit? It's not really a fit. I just wanted to wear this because I was feeling cold. Nice cropped. Hands for I'm just wearing my comfy sweatshorts, man. Just wearing my comfy sweatshorts. It's a nice tank top. Is it ribbed? Yeah, it is. I think it's too short for you. Look at how short it is on him. His waistband doesn't even come to his belly button. That's how these are meant to be cut. It's a flight jacket. Flight jackets are cropped because you're sitting in a cramped cockpit in a plane. You don't want to be sitting on your jacket. Is that the rib shirt from Buck Mason? No, it's a tank top, and it's from Freenote cloth. It is easily the highest quality tank top I've ever worn. When I got it and felt it, I genuinely could not believe how nice it was, which justified the price somewhat. Sorry, I was looking at art. Okay. Close that. Trump admin strips Catholic charities of 11 million after attacking Pope Leo XIV. Oh, right, yes, in our ongoing war against the Holy See. You want me to cover it, and of course I will, but you guys did see, I assume, the funny bit with HEGSETH? Everyone saw that, right? God, that's funny. Here, hold on.
So the prayer is CSAR 2517, and it reads, and pray with me, please. The path of the downed aviator is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who, in the name of camaraderie and duty, shepherd the lost through the valley of darkness. For he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to capture and destroy my brother. And you will know my call sign is Sandy 1 when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
And you will know.
All right, I can't play it on its own. Yeah, so did he, like, ask Chat GPT? Is that has to be why this happened, right? He asked for, like, cool Bible verse, and it gave him that has to be it, right?
All right, CBS News senior White House correspondent Weijia Jiang joins us now. Weijia, we want to pivot back to the war with Iran.
Or he's so obsessed with doing his cringe Marvel Universe movie quote bullshit that he just invoked that as well. Like, it's all part of the bit.
We were just talking to Lieutenant General McMaster about the Ukraine piece of this. What stood out to you from the Pentagon briefing this morning?
Well, Secretary Pete Hegseth had a very bold message for Iran, which we have.
Wait, are they not going to talk about the quote?
Our press are just the Pope
who prefers travel.
Oh, I guess they're not. He did not quote the Bible. He quoted Pulp Fiction. They're not. Are we just going to pretend? Oh, okay. Well, whatever, man. That's fucking funny. I actually cannot find any news stations covering that. Like, they posted the video of him quoting it, but they're not posting their own coverage. Did you see Hannity on Fox said, he asked if the Pope had even read the Bible? Yeah. They need to keep it up, man. They need to keep it up. The evangelicals need to hasten their war with Christendom, I feel. The more they lose the Catholic vote, the better the Democrats will do in the midterms. I work for one of those Catholic charity locations. There's tons across the country. This shit sucks. Yeah, Catholics do charity. Evangelicals don't. So, unfortunately, it's the taking money from the best of them. Lindsey Graham also called the Pope dumb on live TV. I'm telling you that they're heretics, man. No Muslim, as far as I'm aware, is ever... Is it like they hate Christ so much. And they even went to a Catholic school. Yeah, but they don't believe in it. They don't believe in anything, you know?
That it's okay to have a nuclear weapon. We don't want a pope that says crime is okay in our cities. I don't like it. I'm not a big fan of Pope Leo.
Sean Hannity wonders aloud if Pope Leo XIV has, quote, even read the Bible, end quote, in response to his anti-conflict stance. Has he ever even heard of David and Goliath? It's all this tweet. Oh, yeah. God, this ended up being so prescient, huh? He called his shot like Babe Ruth. This was before Republicans made it like a top priority to beef nonstop with the Pope. Dan Henschel, my goat. He's still posting, right?
Why are you fighting with the Pope? And are you worried it's upsetting your
No, I don't. I have to do what's right. The Pope has to understand that. Very simple. I have nothing against the Pope. His brother's MAGA all the way. I like his brother, Louis. I'm not fighting with him. The Pope made a statement. He says Iran can have a nuclear weapon. I say Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And if the Pope looked at the 42,000 people that were killed over the last 2 or 3 months as a protester with no weapons, no nothing, I mean, you take a look at that. So I can disagree with the Pope. I have a right to disagree. I have a right to disagree with the Pope.
What do you say to people who see that, who see your...
The Pope is hit back. I don't like using that language because it's important to understand that in a doctrinal sense, the Pope is literally just reaffirming the word of Christ. Like, I think a lot of people who believe don't actually believe. I do think the Pope believes. I do believe that. And like the idea, because hitting back implies it's like this personal feud. It's that unambiguously, MAGA has declared war on the virtues of Christ, and the Pope is the vicar of God. And that's it. Like that. Like it's not really a back and forth. It's just like Trump screeching that he's the Antichrist, and the Pope remains. You know, why does the media spin this like a celebrity drama? Because I think the complicit media does want to frame it that way, like they're just two world leaders. And I think that, I mean, obviously the Pope is a world leader definitionally, but like the framing. The disagreement here is not between Trump and the Pope. It's between Trump and Christ. You understand what I'm saying, right? Like, this is not an idiosyncrasy of the way this Pope is treating the text. It's that he just believes in Christ, and that would naturally lead one, if one really did believe in Christ and his virtues, to disagree with what Trump is doing. This is not the medieval times anymore. No one cares about the Pope. I can tell you're American. He also condemned what happened in Cameroon as well. I guess a different way of me framing it would be like, if RFK Jr. and a bunch of anti-vaccine conspiracy theorists started attacking a credible scientist who was a proponent for vaccine use, I would not like it if the media framed it that the vaccine scientist hit back by calmly reaffirming the scientific legitimacy of the vaccines. That's not really the vaccine doctor hitting back, because that gives it a degree of like, you know, back and forth, ooh, they're being petty. He's just saying what's correct. And in a doctrinal sense, what the Pope is saying is absolutely correct about the word of Christ. And in this case, it does also align with, you know, what is ethically correct, which is nice. It's good. It's good that, you know, to see those two overlap for once. People advocating something in the name of Christ and it actually being a good thing, you know. Mike Johnson said the Pope doesn't understand just war doctrine. Mike Johnson is a pedophile who attended a purity ball and has his son monitor his internet porn usage. And also, unsurprisingly, a hardline evangelical, as if I'm not repeating myself.
Quick question. Last night, Vice President Vance said the Pope needs to be careful talking about theology. President Trump has again criticized the Pope overnight. He's criticized the Pope saying that he's done crime. What are your thoughts about President Trump and Vice President Vance?
You think Mike Johnson's into incest porn? You mean like he'll watch a video of the stepdad getting stuck in the washing machine and then he'll be like, all right, son, time for you to monitor my internet history, and he'll like waggle his eyebrows or something? It would surprise me if he wasn't. Yeah.
Listen, I'm not one to criticize clerics and religious leaders. We defend free speech, and we certainly defend the right to the free exercise of religion. And, a pontiff or any religious leader can say anything they want. But obviously, if you wade into political waters, I think you should expect some political response. And I think the Pope's received some of that. I was taken a little bit aback, just honestly, frankly, by something that was said. I think he said it several days back that something about those who engage in war, that Jesus doesn't hear their prayers or something. It is a very well settled matter of Christian theology. There's something called the just war doctrine. There's a time to every purpose under heaven. I think what the president's comments, what the vice president's comments reflect is their understanding deep in the skiff and the classified briefings of the stakes that are so high in the city.
This isn't a just war simple as. Yeah, no, like him invoking just war theory here is like, you might as well be saying, nuh-uh. It doesn't, this doesn't meet the requirements, not even remotely, not even slightly.
Situation that we're facing, and the fact that you had the nation that was the largest sponsor of terrorism now having had that ability taken away from them. That means potentially millions of innocent people will be able to keep their...
Keep in mind, even more conservative popes have maintained the war bad message. Pope Benedict the 16th condemned Bush's invasion of Iraq. Yeah. Which is, again, the unique thing here is not the Pope being anti-war. That's consistent. The unique thing here is the apostate MAGA crew declaring war on Christendom. Like, that's the unique thing. No matter what happened in the Middle East, the Pope was sure to condemn death and suffering. It was the choice of the MAGA movement to go, maybe you should read the Bible. Maybe you don't know what you're fucking talking about, Pope. That was on them. Normally, that like a sane administration would just ignore the Pope. Like he would say, oh, we condemn war, and the administration would ignore him. But Trump is an egomaniac, so Trump had to turn it into like a direct back and forth beefing, and his party is full of sycophants, so they have no choice but to defend him, even though it's really politically deleterious,
lives and not be killed by terrorists. That's a good thing. That's what's come out of this, okay? So I don't want to engage in a theological debate with the Pope. I certainly respect the Pope. I would just say that these are matters that people of good faith and good sense can debate and think through, and I think that's what that reflects. Yes.
About what you'd expect him to say. Important to remember, evangelicals are Protestants that don't believe in papal supremacy. Yeah, well, they also don't believe in Christ. So, How much is political anti-Catholicism going to become a thing among American Protestants? The funny thing is that like the right had a good thing going with their whole like resurgent Catholic convert business. So declaring war on the Pope seems to be contradictory to their larger cultural aim of revitalizing the weight and emphasis of because like if you like choose, Western man, what you want to convert to: Catholicism, where you get to make lay epic crusader memes on Twitter, or evangelicism, which is literally just about deference to Israel. Like the main political agenda of Christian evangelicals is deference to Israel. That is the number one thing they unite over. So like you pick, But I'm fine with them declaring war on the Pope, man. I'm happy with like securing Mexican Democratic votes for like all time. Keep the Italians, Irish, and Mexicans on our side. I'm fine with that. They can keep the Italians. Don't give them that. Okay, but evangelicals have shorter church service. Okay, but their churches are ugly. At least in a Catholic church, it's pretty. All right, all right. Respond to my email. Give me in touch with someone. Get this gift to you. Get this. What are you talking about? Respond to my email. I don't know what you're talking about. Wait, you mean with the belt? I did respond to your email. Or is it something else? I sent an email to feedback. Feedback? I don't run that email account. That's Whiteleaf. It's okay. They'll forward it to me eventually. All right. Well, I've pretty much run up to my limit of energy. I think that we were able to maintain a slightly higher average level of energy despite the fact that I still haven't gotten any sleep. So I'm going to read donos. People don't even know where to email you anymore. Good. Next demise, thanks to the tier 1 sub. Hero, likewise. Resender, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Yeah, I hope my sleep gets better soon, too. Blah. Armchair Politician, thank you for the $5. Prescription to Trazodone. I don't think I have insomnia, though, so I don't know if that would really do anything for me, you know? Sake, thanks to 5 tier 1 subs. Never understood the phrase, you have to call ball and strikes when voiced by Democrats. That's the umpire's job in baseball, the most hated position. Umpires have only gotten more accurate with time, though, you know? A lot of the hate is really forced. Gotta have a referee. Gotta have a referee. Orange Treason, thanks to tier 2 sub. Really appreciate that. Yeah, God willing, I'll be in CNN one day, you know? South Texas Titan and Rygar, thank you for the $5 both. Really appreciate that. I see no difference between Kamala Harris, Ezra Klein, and the deep state ghoul you showed on C-SPAN yesterday. The one with the long resume. No, they're all pretty similar people, yeah. Or at least they're all on the same side, you know? It's worth noting that all three of these people don't really like Netanyahu or Trump because they're, you know, inconvenient overextensions of the power hierarchy they're trying to maintain. You know what I mean? Like they get in the way of good business. Three Birds, thank you for the $10. You've been making my work days more manageable for a few years now. It's time I finally pay my debts, thanks. Hey, thank you. I really appreciate that. And I'm happy to hear that I've been making them better, you know? Maybe, Slapula, maybe. High Shelf, thank you for the $2. Why do people hate Best Buy? I thought it was good. I just think that the vibes there are just kind of shitty. I don't know. Raina Bibi, thank you for the $5. Much appreciated. Red Baron, thank you for the 3 2-pound donos. Abe Lincoln, thank you for the 5. Mika Gelfin, thank you for the $20. Ezra Klein's delivery and soft tone is like nails on a chalkboard. Yeah, I hate it. Would be insufferable even if the stuff he was saying was correct and well thought out. So for it to be juxtaposed with that, just yeah, no, I can't do it. The shit he do be saying. The shit he do be saying, more like. I love goats, thanks to $5. Yeah, I'm afraid the Key Bridge is going to take a while to rebuild. We used to build things in this country. I love goats. Future Arrow and John Roland, thank you for the $5 both. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Hunters and anglers fought for the boundary waters tooth and nail. Yeah, hunters and anglers overwhelmingly are pro-environmental protection. That's like an angle where they're not as politically conservative as they might otherwise be given their, you know, general preferences. Alexander Stanford, thank you for the 100 Egyptian pounds. I know everything is so bad right now, but I finally saved enough from work to buy my dream PC that I will use for work and gaming as well. Small wins like this keep me sane in these times. That's fantastic. Well done. Really happy to hear that. Yeah. Well, good luck, and I hope that Israel doesn't invade Egypt anytime soon and bomb it to smithereens. You know, I hope you're able to keep that PC. Excuse me. They got to finish Lebanon first. Mason M, thanks for the $10. Just got off work. Nice jacket. Thank you. It's very comfortable. And Auntie Orca. I gotta go whale watching around here sometime. Thank you for the $15. Really appreciate that. Kowalski, thank you for the $5. We need a direct high-speed rail from San Francisco to LA. The Central Valley gets ICBM silos to become a nuclear sponge. It's what rural areas were made for. God, I wish. A golden dome system that doesn't destroy the ICBMs as they're inbound, but deflects them so they hit red states. Be doing us a favor. Man, I fucking hate AI, dude. This right here isn't AI, but that was my assumption before I got more information. But AI is made like any morphing of an image, like really suspect. God damn, man. How do you get it to be 3D? It's not 3D. It's all 2D images, you know? Very good. Hello, hello. Huh, that was weird. That was a very aggressive little bout of frame dropping there. That was on my end, not YouTube's. No idea why. But I mean, I was done reading donos. I just wanted to say goodbye properly, you know? Shikigami-chan, thank you for the $5. As someone who loves seafood, I feel really bad for lobster and shrimp harvesters that are getting contaminated seafood in the East Coast. And not to mention the customers. Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. It's not great. All right. Holy shit. Thana, real question. When people make posts like this, do you read all of them before approving it, or do you just look at it and go, I'll feel bad if I don't approve this post? And then hit it with the rubber stamp? Can't wait for Vosh to read the title of my post along with 2 disconnected sentences, then get mad at me for 10 minutes. Hold on, I haven't read a second one. Is rice and beans self-sufficiency in the community the seeds Vosh is talking about? There we go. Now I'm mad. I had to get the 2 sentences in. I do what I call going into N-word mode, where I skim for slurs and approve and remove later if enough people report it. Gotcha. That makes sense. That's a good system. I do dislike this parasocial language quite a bit. I honestly think the 2024 election broke him at this point. I don't like. It's like a way of infantilizing my positions or writing them off. Like, oh, she's just broken. He's just like emotionally traumatized or whatever. I feel like I've given a lot of really lengthy explanations for why I feel the way I do. It's not just me dejectedly waving my hand and going like, it's over, it's over, it's over. So it feels like it's a way of writing me off. Been noticing him gradually decline over these past 2 years, and it started when Trump won. I mean, I think it's a little bit reasonable to have the events of the past 2 years, you know, shift your perspective on the world and the future a bit. I think he's convinced himself a total worldwide societal collapse. I don't really. I mean, maybe climate change will bring about versions of that in some places. Yes, the U.S. empire declined, but empire decline does not equal fallout. I didn't say that, though. Add to this major defeats for right-wing authoritarians around the world, and I'm just not seeing the future of Washington. See, this is what I mean. This proves this guy doesn't understand my point. The defeat of authoritarians around the world doesn't actually provide a defeater to my position, because my position is that it's underlying economic and material developments that have been basically bipartisanly fronted all across the developed world for decades that are going to bring about what I would call the end. It's not authoritarian leaders. The authoritarian leaders are just a last gasp effort for the status quo to justify its existence. By formalizing an external threat, you can get away with a couple more years or maybe a couple more decades of plundering, but it's not the fundamental problem, you know? But stuff like this makes me think that they're not listening to me, you know? They think that my position is different than what it is. Yeah, climate change is coming, but what many people don't really understand is that we're on track right now for 2.7 degrees warming by 2100. Which is bad, but this is not world ending. Like, I feel like we're taking refuge in hyperbole a little bit here. Like, if you frame my position as literal world ending, as opposed to me referring to the end of the world as a kind of like general, admittedly somewhat hyperbolic, but I state my positions clearly. I'm allowed to engage in a bit of flavorful language when I've made clear what I specifically believe is happening. But like, for one, I think this might be a little bit optimistic, and for two, I feel like you might be understating the impact of the global like climate crisis a little bit, like the supply chain problems that it's going to cause that are going to reify existing international inequities. You know, it could potentially be pretty bad. We're seeing this with Vosh right now, where he's basically quitting PV. Okay, seriously, like, what are we? I know it's the Reddit, so it's like a bit, but I don't get, I try to engage with criticism, you know. I mean, obviously I yell at people in chat, as is my right, but like, who are we talking about here? I don't blame him, honestly, but he probably needs to do more self-reflection or something after this. This annoys me so much, dude. They're so presumptuous. They're so arrogant. You tune into a stream for 5 minutes, you see a guy like be in a bad mood or struggle with sleep for a couple of weeks. And you're like, yeah, man, he's broken. He's emotionally broken. He really needs to look inward. And you don't even have my positions correct. This is extremely rude. I really don't get it. Well, they don't treat me like a person, you know? They don't treat like but that's very common to like live streamers or YouTubers or whatever else. You treat them like this conceptual other rather than just like a guy, you know? Vosh acts incredibly doomer all the time. Also, Vosh, will you guys stop doom posting? It's so pathetic. But they don't know what they're talking about, though. I think a lot of bad things are going to happen. I think I have a really good reason to believe that. Many good reasons to believe that. What I don't like is when people say stuff like, it's all over, or there's nothing we can do, or why even bother? Because I've argued many times against those positions. Like, so to me, these are fundamentally different things. The doomer posting is this like anguish, this ineffectiveness, this like, well, why even bother? It's apathy, you know? But I'm not apathetic at all. I don't know if you've noticed, but I have strong opinions on the world and on what you should do in the world. I do think bad things are going to happen. It's just, you know, it's so presumptuous. Did you actually watch the live stream that this post is referring to? No, I haven't gotten to the stream yet. In the stream he's referring to, Vosh is not being hyperbolic. He says explicitly and unambiguously he thinks neoliberalism will collapse and cause mass famine destruction globally, and that nothing can stop it before that collapse. Yeah? Vosh talks about the future after the collapse less than 5% of the time he talks about the collapse itself. That's true, but like, I don't know. It's pretty difficult to even imagine what the world's going to look like after that. I don't really think that invalidates the point, you know? You wouldn't criticize Nostradamus for not predicting what comes after the end, I guess. I've been watching Vosh, but frankly, his predictions have been really off recently. Did tariffs damage the economy? Absolutely. Did they tank everything? No, not really. I don't know, man. Inflation looks like it's going to be posting 4% month over month, in large part due to that, because we haven't even factored in, like, for one, a lot of the tariffs ended up getting overturned, and Trump selectively, like, applied them as a way of bullying countries into agreeing with him, and he, like, made 70 fucking revisions to the tariffs. They changed, like, a bunch. But also, we're getting into a stagflation period that is substantially influenced by the tariffs. It's not all the Iran war. Like, the tariffs have contributed to an environment where the Fed doesn't have the ability to cut the rates because of inflation, but also we're about to go into, like, I mean, stagflationary indicators are looking pretty bad. Jeremy Powell talks about it. Is he a doomer lefty live streamer? Am I being too pissy? I don't know. I don't like feeling misunderstood. People go in the Reddit, they complain. You're a messy bitch. That's fair. Maybe I'll read. I'll skim. I can skim. Yeah, that's probably okay. Like the big post, you know? I can understand a lot of people getting the impression, if they only watch videos of mine as opposed to like the full stream segments or whatever, not getting a full I tried. Oh, that is you, yeah. Not getting like a full understanding of my beliefs about the future might give you the impression that I'm advocating for a kind of like you know, a selective apathy or pessimism. In my mind, like, okay, a lot of people on the left have correctly identified the fact that the Democrats are doing a really, really bad job of upholding the liberal norms in this country, from like not only in defending the country itself, but also in advocating for themselves. Like, they're doing a really bad job of having like a collective strategy, a collective message. It's insane that they're less popular than Trump, the Democrats broadly. And I think that it's important to understand that that comes from somewhere. The Democrats aren't ineffective in like a unique or like I guess like special way, a novel way. The Democrats are weak in the same way that the Labour Party in the UK is weak, in the same way that Macron's party in France is weak, in the same way that the SPD in Germany is weak, in the same way, like all across the West, we have like similar patterns where you have very weak, ineffectual, ideologically undefined, poorly coordinated liberal majority parties slowly losing ground and relevance. No Canada mention? There too, bucko. Though, yes, you did benefit from Poilievre's, stunning claps into irrelevance, but it's not like Mark Carney isn't also the Antichrist. What was I saying? You distracted me. Fuck you. Oh, you want an example as well? Japan too. It's been going on longer in Japan, but that's another perfect example of like a mainstay, not liberal socially, but liberal economically, right? Like status quo party, just like rotting, not really offering solutions, but they're just there, you know? And I think this comes from the fact that the people who really decide the shape of society broadly are wealthy people, corporations, special interest groups, consultants, lobbyists, and other people who have, their hands deep in the money. I think they're the ones who largely make the decisions. They write the bills that politicians sign off on. They decide what politicians believe in. They certainly decide what pundits on the news say. They have a lot of influence, and they do it in a decentralized way where they're just acting on their own personal self-interest. So it's not like one big mastermind controlling everything, the problem is that this system is very deeply rooted. It's not official. It's not like distinguishable in a way that would allow you to target it through policy, or at least not through one policy. You would need like a massive swath of policies to even come close. And as a byproduct of the rigidity and the stability of this inequitable system, I don't think it's possible to uproot it before we run into one of the great crises of our times. That could be another pandemic. That could be climate change. That could be like a global economic collapse as bad as or worse than 2008. The fuel crisis we're experiencing right now, you know, a fuel is a pretty inelastic demand. It only took, you know, a bit of fuckery in the Middle East to like legitimately, for years, we have dampened the production of oil and natural gas. That's not a little, and we have only begun to experience the consequence of this. It's going to be a problem for a while. The world is a lot more fragile than we want it to be, you know? So I think, unfortunately, it is very unlikely that any kind of like popular democratic movement is going to be able to like turn the tide, like we race to the deck of the ship and we grab the wheel in time to stop some like big systematic failure from happening. I don't think we can do it. It's not because there aren't good people out there. Mamdani, we love Mamdani, you know? And you can do a lot more at a local level, but on like a big international level, the name of the game is international capital. And international capital is not capable of being steered unilaterally. There is no one on earth with enough will or knowledge to single-handedly direct that kind of inertia, you know? The inertia of corporate and political power. It's too much, you know? It's too complicated. It's too interconnected. It's unimaginably difficult. I don't think anyone could do it, even if they wanted to. I think the best thing that we can do, and the project that we should be invested in, well, projects, right, plural. The big things that we should be invested in my opinion, are, for one, we have to keep people believing in politics. Right now, I think the Democratic Party is like a machine for apathy. They are so dishonest and so ineffective and so fucking pathetic that they will inspire in their constituency a belief that nothing matters, why even bother? We've seen this happen before. We've seen it happen in many countries that have ailing democracies or managed democracies. Like, for example, the Eastern Bloc, the former Soviet bloc, many places with poorly functioning democracies in Latin America, Southeast Asia, Africa, right? You see, like, to some extent, a large amount of like people withdrawing from the democracy, Haiti, because they recognize that there's not much of a relationship between what they do and want and what the people in power actually do. In America right now, I worry that we are reaching a critical point of pessimism, where the average person in America believes that, like, you know, what's the fucking point? But it can get worse, and it can reach a point where that apathy is so overwhelming that it basically nullifies the democracy entirely. Like, what is the point of a democracy if participation is so low and so disengaged and borne about by such poor information that the relationship between what the people benefit from and what actually gets done is basically nil, you know? I worry about that. I want people to not give up, but I also need people to understand that the reason the Democrats are failing in this way and inspiring so much apathy is because they are structurally captured. So my criticisms of the Democratic Party, in a way, are an attempt to shield the hearts of the Democratic voter. I don't want Democrats, like the voters, I mean, to wake up every day and go, grr, fuck the Democrats. They can if they want to, and they'd be right to. But my goal isn't that fundamentally. My goal is for them to wake up and go, no matter what the Democrats do or don't do, I will continue to believe that it's worth trying. That's what got Mamdani elected, you know? It's about an optimism underlying the negative circumstances. It's about the ability to recognize that the failures of the Democrats are not a fundamental failing of democracy or political participation, but rather the failures of the Democrats. And there might be very strong structural patterns here that have made, to a large extent, your democratic participation somewhat meaningless over the past lifetime you've had, but that doesn't mean it will always be that way, and we need to fight for a world where that's not the case. I don't think we can take hold of the ship before it goes over the waterfall. But I do think that we can seed in the public, Democrat and Republican, by the way, the idea that we got to that waterfall for a set of reasons that can be changed in the future. It doesn't have to be like that. I think the suffering is mandatory. Like, I don't think there's anything we can do to prevent that. We're going to go over the waterfall. And that could take a number of forms. Massive debt crisis, right? America's deficit spending like crazy, a defaulting on our debt, which is not an impossibility, by the way, or similar catastrophic mismanagement of our fiscal and monetary responsibilities, that could do it. The collapse of the USD as the global reserve currency, that could do it. Further attacks on the stability and consistency of our global petroleum network, that could do it. Global trade in general, that could do it. Wars, nuclear war, climate change leading to hundreds of millions of climate refugees, that could all do it. Many things could lead to like such a systematic breakdown. I don't think people understand how fragile this is. To remind you guys, like the Syrian refugee crisis massively transformed the political landscape in all of Europe. Over 1 billion people across the continent experienced a cataclysmic change in their political environment due to a few million people making it past Turkey. Turkey took the majority of the Syrian refugees. Only a couple million made it past that. A couple million in a continent of over 1 billion. And that was enough. What do you think it's going to look like when Central America or South Asia start getting floods and typhoons that displace tens of millions of people or hundreds? This isn't just speculation. There are plenty of reputable climate scientists right now who have talked about climate refugee crises in the future, what it might look like, the first category 6 hurricane or whatever, what it might represent, what the flooding or the water sea level. This is not like me being hyperbolic. It is a thing that experts have talked about. It's not at all unlikely to happen in the future. Those shifts could cause a cascading global supply chain breakdown that our government will just not be able to handle. No government will. Like, our government can't handle shit right now. Our government can barely handle the pithy little hurricanes it sends our East Coast compared to what's coming and how often it's going to come. I'm not saying all this to be negative. I just think we need to be ready for it. And for me, readiness is about making sure that after the big whatever happens, people know there are steps they can take to keep it from happening again. A degree of knowledgeable political participation and an aversion to certain symptoms or tendencies of power, right? To put it very, very, very shortly, like basically don't let the Epstein class run again. Don't let these like deep state ghouls who are in bed with every fucking corporation and consultancy group and lobbying group on earth, don't let them call the shots again. Don't let Citizens United happen again. I'm not saying that like the government is literally going to collapse. I just mean that, like, I don't know how to put it, man. I don't know how to put it. One day there will be a crisis and the government will not be able to fix it and there will be no one with answers. The Colorado will run dry and Los Angeles will be out of water. Or at least they'll be informed like a month from now, there will just legit be no water. And people will go, what can we do? And the state and municipal and federal governments will look at the crisis and they will say correctly, they will say nothing. There are 12 million people in the county of Los Angeles, and we have no way of getting them water in the time they need. We have 1 month to procure it, and it is not possible. The infrastructure doesn't exist. There is nothing that can be done. And when that happens, what next? Like, seriously, what after that? Like really though, what after? Like, what? We haven't really experienced that like in America before. It happens pretty often in like Indonesia or whatever. Like there will be a big climate disaster and then everyone will understand like you just have to move. Like you just have to take your belongings in a bag and physically move to a place that's not flooded. But since Katrina, and this would be greater than Katrina, but since Katrina, like it's been a while since we've reckoned with that, like potential. What happens when a bad thing is about to happen and there's literally nothing we can do and a lot of people might die? Like so many more people than you think, more than you've ever seen in America or in like a developed country, you know? Anyway, I'm just rambling, but like the signs are there. And I don't think what I'm saying is, you know, crazy. I just think it can lead to cascading failures. It would only take a couple of dedicated acts of terrorism to meaningfully cripple our energy grid in some areas of the United States, and it would only take a little bit of that as well to do significant damage to data centers, not AI data centers, but internet data centers, the ones that hold a bunch of information that's like needed for the world to function the way that it does. You might just wake up one day and some regional instability in the Western world, some area that has experienced a crisis, drought, famine, refugees, somebody attacked something, and now a significant amount of internet data doesn't exist. Government records now have to be accessed physically from their paper copies. But what about non-government records? What about information from banking companies or credit companies? Oh, the debt's wiped free. Dog, your credit balance is wiped free. So is your checking balance. That could happen. There's nothing that prevents. There are physical copies sometimes, but not always. The world we live in is more fragile than we think it is. That's all. I think that to an extent, the past, like the post World War II environment, has made us forget that. I was thinking about this when I was taking a shower this morning. Thankfully, I've always been kind of paranoid about the end, so I've always prepared. But I know how other people keep their cars. You know what my grandparents' car had when we drove around in Florida? The Thomas Guide. That's a physical map of the area you're in. It's a big map. They made many of them. All the roads, all the streets in the U.S. Tools, a winch, crank, you lift up the car, spare tire, so on. They had those things because when my grandparents were growing up, and my grandfather is quite old, when my grandfather was growing up, if you had a car trouble and you were in the middle of nowhere, which was very possible, you just had to fix it. You didn't have a cell phone. There was nothing you could do. No AAA, you had to fix it. And if you couldn't fix it, you had to walk. Oftentimes quite a while. Lived in Florida. Depending on where you were in Florida, like that could be a while. That could be life-threatening. People died sometimes. Your car goes out in the middle of nowhere, and they went out a lot more often back then. You could die. Bad weather. It could happen. Now we have AAA. And that's good, But a lot of people don't carry tools in their car anymore. I do. And a spare tire. Or all that stuff. Because we've relied on systems that are very convenient and very advanced. But there are so many assumptions you have to make. The cell towers are going to work. The satellites that allow you to use your phone properly, those are going to work. Your LTE, your 5G, those towers, they're going to be there. They're going to function. That AAA will exist. That there will be a company that's still able to go out and pick you up in the middle of nowhere. All these assumptions. You know what assumptions you're relying on when you have the tools? When you have the spare tire? Not one. Not a single one. It doesn't matter where you are, who you are, what's going on. If you have the tools and you know how to use them, you can fix it. You don't have to rely on any infrastructural or systematic contingencies. You don't have to rely on the grid working. A map is a map. I don't keep a Thomas Guide in my car. Thankfully, I know Seattle pretty well. But if I was in a new area, or if I was out in the North Cascades, I use my phone. And if I didn't have my phone, I would have to intuit where I was going based on road signs. I guess that's not really intuiting. What if I, didn't know exactly where I was going? What if I was trying to find like the nearest gas station? What if I was really out in the sticks? I don't keep a compass in my car. Maybe I should. I guess the point, I don't want people to turn into like weird prepper bunker types or whatever. I don't want people to get like paranoid about their neighbors or anything. I want people, the community is what makes you strong in difficult times. We know this. This is a fact. The weird individualist obsession with like you'll stockpile ammunition and hide in a hole forever, that's dumb and fake and it doesn't work, but we do often forget like how fragile the world we've built for ourselves is. And if you want to remember that, go look at how poor people in the developing world live. They don't have those assurances. If something fucked up happens to them, the government's not going to save them. It's just up to them. Their ability to drink clean water sometimes is up to their ability to find it and boil it clean. They have to filter it. That's the natural state of man. That's what we were doing for all time. Like, for all of history, basically, up until like 100 years ago, even as recently as the late 19th century, like 1897 or whatever, that was all still true. A lot of people, most people, they hunted for their food, or they had to provide for themselves in some way, or they had to like worry about stuff like diphtheria or cholera. They had to worry about like basic illnesses. They were responsible for their well-being. But now in my day-to-day life, I don't even consider the possibility that I might die of something dumb. Like, I understand that at any point in time a car accident could do me in or whatever, but I don't think like this could be it every time I get diarrhea. You know what I mean? I don't have to worry about it, because the world has been built up to my level of comfort. Because every day I wake up to an environment where an unbelievable amount of human ingenuity and capital and labor has gone into shielding me from what used to be reality for everyone, everywhere, for all time. I guess what I'm saying is that the world doesn't have to go back to like Fallout or Mad Max style shit for what I'm saying to be true. It only has to go back a little bit. A couple of outages, a couple of supply shortages, you run out of food at the local grocery store, the Hudson runs dry, the Colorado runs dry, LA runs out of water. It doesn't take a whole, you don't have to go back 400 years. You just need a couple of key like breakages, you know? I understand I've been ranting about this for a while. Are you still here, the person who made this post? Not able, go-attable. Do you understand what I'm talking about? I want people to be in a position where they can survive this and they can continue to build a political project afterwards. Because it would make me very sad if this all happened and I survived it, and then everyone reverts back to like strongman tribalism, where they think that the road to rebuilding society is like, I don't know, conquering Cascadia or preventing Mexican refugees from making it north of the Skagit River. You know, like I don't want everything to fall apart. I want people to understand that we made mistakes, but we can not make them. But to my point, you talked a lot about the corpse and not about the seeds or tree. Yeah, I mean, I know more about the corpse. And I think that that's what a lot of people are struggling with right now. And it's also something I feel more equipped to talk about, because I don't really know what comes next. All I know, or at least I think I know, all I'm confident about, is that we will reckon with these problems. Does that make sense? You do need to stop doing and talk about solutions. Lexi Glorp, I know that you're participating in good faith here, but I'm trying not to have an aneurysm. Goodbye. What I'm describing, definitionally, is not dooming. It's not dooming. It's really not. I'm trying to be optimistic, man. I'm just talking about the world and how I think it's going to... This isn't dooming. It's not. It's really not. It's important you understand that it's not, because if you think that this is dooming, you might find a person who disagrees with me on this and think that they're merely an optimist. But I don't think they're just being optimistic. I think they're wrong. I don't really know, like, how it's all going to play out. I mean, nobody does. I just think it's important to... It also reframes the debate too, because it makes it clear the real problem isn't Democrat versus Republican, or even like socialist versus the uniparty. It's more that the Republicans and the Democrats are a product of a system that was guaranteed to bring about these outcomes in a materialist sense anyway, you know? But in terms of my solutions, I've always said the stuff that I say now, right? Make friends with your neighbors, have some tools in your house, you know, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, the rice and beans thing is a jokey, simplified, boiled down version of the point that I mean, which is get used to and accommodate a world where luxuries are no longer common. Get used to a simpler world. Understand the world will be harder in the future, and that you owe it to yourself to become more resilient. The rice and beans thing is just like a simple, jokey way of saying that, but that's the sentiment. That's the point that I'm making. It's not just that rice and beans are tasty, though they are. They are. I don't want to get used to that world. Well, rice and beans are delicious. You need to add spices. I don't think saying rice and beans really gets people to change their behavior, though, since it's just a jokey thing. No, but I also don't want to turn into like a prepper channel because I'm not interested in that. I'm just not. I like political commentary. I really have no interest in like, all right, everyone, here's the hour of the stream today that we're going to dedicate to like how to whittle your own whistle that you can use to attract birds that you can hunt. Like I'm not, you know, I'm talking about the broad scope of things. I don't really think that it's an antidote to the pessimism either. Like I don't think that people are going to be less pessimistic about the idea of the world falling in on itself because they now know how to whittle. You know what I mean? Even if it's a good skill. Also, a lot of it is that I just don't want my audience to be caught in the indefinite cycle of like hope and despair over over electoralism. I align more with the anarchists on this one. It's important to participate in, but like, guys, no matter how well we do in the midterms or how well we do in 2028, I don't think what I'm saying right now is going to change. That's why I say, like, no president, Democrat or Republican, will raise taxes to the point they need to be raised to fix the fiscal problems this country is having, or to prevent, like, greater economic catastrophes in the future. And they certainly aren't going to do what's necessary to stop climate change, which at this point, like, in my opinion, the most moral thing to do would be to declare a global state of emergency and start requisitioning car factories to produce solar panels. Like, I think that at this point you could, like, the most responsible thing you could do is hit like the wartime power switch and start like enlisting Americans to mass production of, you know, like that kind of thing, you know. Like, I don't think anyone's going to do this, right? So do what you can, do the good you can, but the long arc is, you know, we're in for some rough ground, I think. Okay, but you understand what you're saying's been true before you even started streaming, right? Yeah, of course. Well, yeah, in a materialist sense, yeah. Though I think I've enhanced my political education for sure. I've made many mistakes in my analysis. I'm confident in what I'm saying now. Certainly, my outlook on the future has grown more negative, but I think it's well informed. I'm not dooming it's just over. I'm not dooming if you hope it gets better in the next run. I know you're doing a bit, but it does frustrate me because it makes me feel like you're not listening to me. I don't know if how would you prefer I frame what I'm saying if I believe that the things that I'm saying are going to happen? I don't know how to sugarcoat that. It's not like life won't be worth living. Like, the idea that your life can only be happy in a world with DoorDash is fucking gay and Israeli. Okay? People find ways to be happy in areas of the world that are much more materially dispossessed than our own. And you can too. I think being informed isn't helpful if people don't have any solutions to channel that frustration toward. Not notable, go-atable. I think I might just break with you on this one. I disagree that I've proposed no... For one, there are no set solutions. There are just things you can do to prepare or, like, improve things. Solution? Who has a solution? Solve what? Solution? You can try to improve things. But I disagree. I disagree with your perspective on this. I don't think that the information I'm providing people is bad. I think that sometimes people treat me like a therapist where my job is to make them feel like it's all worthwhile. And I can say what I believe, and I can talk to people about how I feel about the world and how I think people should live their lives. And I think that oftentimes my advice is very good, but I don't consider myself responsible for people's responsibility that they have to themselves to reconcile with the idea that the world might not get better in their own lives, which I think is unthinkable to a lot of people. I think basically everybody watching this right now grew up thinking that history had moved in a progressive direction and that in their lifetime things would get better. I don't think a lot of people around my age grew up thinking like, this is all going to fall apart. I think that they felt that that wasn't going to happen, that we'd made it through the big, bad, dark parts, and maybe there'd still be bumps along the way. I think a lot of people didn't really think that it could get bad. But remember that for most of human history, the idea that things would improve in your lifetime wasn't even a consideration. For a feudal peasant, 100, 200, 300, whatever, like, you didn't live and wake up every day thinking like, oh, maybe the monarchy will be better in my lifetime. You just made it through your life. People lived and died in a house and in a village that didn't change in many cases. Like, the world has been moving so quickly over the past 100 years. I think people have forgotten that, you know, that's not the norm. We're not peasants, come on. Did you listen to what I said? I don't know. Again, I can't really do anything on your... Communication is a two-end street. I'm paving mine. You need to work on yours. Is that what you took from what I said? Do you think we'll be facing a return to the mean in our lifetime? To normalcy? No. But I still think things will be good. Jesus, man, you'll still have stuff to look forward to. You'll still have delicious meals, and you'll get to fuck cute people and, you know, have a family or whatever. Go on walks. Like, it's not over, man. Doesn't matter what happens. The whole project, it's still continuing. I just want people to, you know, frame properly the way things are going and why they're going that way. Sorry, my energy is starting to wane here. I started stream pretty tired. My enthusiasm for complaining about the way people on Reddit treat me kept me going for a little while, but now I'm just starting to damp out a little bit. Can we end the good note by reading my top comment? Your top comment? Yeah. I think what your chat needs to hear is there's more to life than political obsession. Or, well, I mean, I think it's good to pay attention, I guess. It's just like, do you only care when you're winning? Like, do you need to be fed a Marvel movie narrative for your participation in politics? Like, it's only worthwhile if you get to lay epically uppercut the bad guy and prevail? Like, I don't know. Sometimes shit takes a long time to settle out, man. Long time. All right, I'm going to read these final donos. Is your reasoning for not giving advice about how to brave the storm and only giving the warning because people should be doing changes per person? It's because, like, I don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm just saying I think that we're not solving fundamental problems, that we're going to crash into them. I don't know what the problem is going to end up being. Global petroleum shortage, defaulting on debt, end of USD as global reserve currency. I don't know what's going to happen, man. I'm only saying we're running up into big existential threats that I don't think that our governments are structurally capable of addressing. But I like, I don't know, like, very basic advice and self-sufficiency is all I could really offer, because everything else is going to be conditional to circumstances that might not make themselves known for decades. I don't know if this is even going to happen in the next 10 years, 20, 30, I don't know. It feels weird, like, everyone get ready, in 30 years you'll need to know how to boil water to survive. Like, it's not my wheelhouse. After the nukes fall, maybe I'll talk about it more, okay? But like right now, it's, you know, like I'd rather talk about stuff I find interesting and engaging. There are plenty of survivalist channels if that's what you're interested in. I talk about rice and beans. Get used to that. I'm sorry, Saki gave me 2 OKBV links, and I'd actually rather die than engage with... Oh, by the way, I meant to say this, but I hope the people at OKBV know that my partner finds your posting delightful. Sometimes I'll be laying in bed and they'll giggle, and they'll show me one of your dumbass fucking posts. So they like it. Just letting you know you've got shooters out there. Okay, I'm going to... read super chats, but not the site donos, because I can read the site donos tomorrow, and the super chats aren't distinguished as easily because I don't get rid of the pings. Zach of all trades, thank you for the $5. I do agree that we need to return to some degree of self-reliance. It's not like a matter of moralizing it or anything. It's just very, very useful, you know? Memory Suit, thank you for the $2. Power Surg, thank you for the $5. I can't link, but Goku wears an orange and black jacket with a 59. With greenish pants. Are you able to identify the type of clothes? What? Goku orange black jacket? This one? This is called a Letterman jacket. Letterman jackets tend to be cropped. They fit sort of like bombers. And they have sleeves of a different color. This is a Letterman jacket. It's a Letterman jacket that looks like the what is it? Not the M1A. What's the M1A bomber? Yeah, it looks like the M1A bomber. In its pockets, at least, because it has these... Well, no, the fact that it has pockets that are this horizontal, it looks more like the B-line bomber, the heavier one, typically made of leather. But no, it's definitely a Letterman jacket. The G1A2, maybe like something like this, but with a Letterman sleeve. They make those. To my knowledge, the very, very best Letterman jacket producers in the United States are Dayan 1920. They're based out of Portland. Shop jackets. They make very good stuff at appropriate prices. Lorenzo McCoy, thanks for the $2. Aeon, thank you for the $5. Have you thought about teaching people how to fix cars and be handy instead of fashion? No, because I talk about what I want to talk about. And even though I have a passing understanding of some mechanical stuff, I have no interest in like learning that just to regurgitate it at you. You can just look it up on YouTube if you want to. I just want to talk about stuff that I want to talk about. Benjamin Gilbert Liff, thank you for the incredibly kind $100 dono. Vosh and his Foundation arc, the book TV series. I gotta get on that. I gotta get on that. Lot I gotta get on. Lot I gotta get on. And Benjamin, thank you for the additional $100 dono. I really appreciate that. Only way to survive crisis is through building community. Doesn't matter which one, join PV. But it's the network and ties to other people that really make life important anyway, but also keep you safe or as safe as possible. And I'll add an additional join PV in there. It's true. And by the way, I've been consistent on that since day one. Not just in times of hardship, but I've given you guys like a million fucking arguments on how it's important on an emotional and institutional structural level to know your neighbors and get along with people interpersonally, you know? And I maintain that. I've always been consistent on that. Thank you, Benjamin. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Prairie Fire Nev, thank you for the $10. When globalization ends, the American empire will die and the republic will remain. We can focus better after this. It's one of the reasons I've been thinking a lot about that. Nations fall, but cities stay forever, unless Israel gets their hands on them. New York City will outlive America by a long, long time. And Cry More MAGA, thank you for the $5. Down with MAGA, down with those Zionist rats. Good job, Italy, on the magazine cover. I don't think Italy did that magazine cover. I think it was Le Espresso. Kind of a funny name for a Italian magazine, but probably just to me. Read the book, The Show Butcher Theme So Badly. Okay. If I get into Foundation, it'll be the books. I gotta go. I'll read the few remaining site donos tomorrow. All right, take care. I'm super tired. Take care.